This conference will now be recorded.
Just 1 minute away.
Yeah.
Are you all set?
Yep, we're good.
Are you all set, Kathy? Okay. Wait till my bent wrist says 9. Okay. Good morning. This is Monday, August 24th. Welcome to the weekly Board of Selectmen meeting. Before we begin, I'd like to read the following into the record. Members of the public wishing to attend this meeting electronically, please join from your computer, tablet, or smartphone by contacting global.gotomeeting.com/join/996433-941. You can also listen via telephone. It's toll-free 1-877-309-2073, access code 996-433-941. Please note that you'll be able to interact during public input using the online service. However, you will only be able to listen to the meeting via telephone. If you have any issues attending this meeting electronically using the aforementioned instructions, please call 603-569-5903. With that being said, I call the meeting to order. And to honor America with the pledge, I'd ask Art Hug to lead us, please. All stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we begin, these are the days that it's fun to be a selectman. The Tufton Borough Board of Selectmen are pleased to introduce to you our new administrative secretary. We welcome Cecile Pounder. Kathy returns to us after 7 years. Welcome back. Kathy, you'd be pleased to know that since people in town have heard you're coming back, there's a lot of smiling, friendly faces. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back.
The first order of business is public information session notice. The Board of Selectmen will hold a public information session on the proposed police station today, Monday, August 24th at 9 a.m. here at the Townhouse. Time will be provided to review and discuss the proposed facility site and location, building plans, and anticipated construction process and costs. With that, I'll open that up to that part of the meeting. Who would like to begin? Please, Bob.
This is our third session on this. Plans are still the same. We're waiting for all the input from, we're gonna look at what changes need to be made to address those concerns. We've obviously heard some concerns about it. I think a couple of things that were important, like this conference room right here, a lot of people saying about, could it be outside, could it be, this is smaller than the selectman's office in the building across the street now. It's like about 4 feet shorter and 2 feet narrower. It's really not gonna add a whole lot. This building is also, like 4,100 square feet, including hallways. That's smaller than some of the past plans that we had, slightly, because they had joint, shared use. If you included those sorts of shared use in, they were coming in, I think, around 3,500, 3,700 before the shared areas were being used. If you included the shared areas, they were bigger than this. And that is a little over 4,000 square feet, is about twice the size we have now. We're about 1,800. Plus, we use a significant amount of the basement too, which I've not included in that 1,800. So it's not ginormous compared to a lot of the things. Just to be clear, this is not large evidence. This is a garage, but it could double as large evidence. And recently, we ran into it. We had a drug case where we seized a car. We had to had it shipped to Wakefield, and I had 2 officers had to go to Wakefield to execute the search warrant on it. This evidence processing, this really isn't, this is a place, it's a multi-use place for anything involving chemicals. So we don't have chemicals used throughout the building. It's one spot where it can be easily ventilated out, stored and secured appropriately. It's not just evidence, it's also for firearm storage, security. As we go along, one of the things that's come up as we've started this discussion is obviously COVID. One of the issues raised at earlier meetings was how to divide this up to make sure, as it exists now, basically everybody works in one office. So if somebody gets COVID, we could be shut down. There was a town in the county that essentially had that happen. They had 1 part-time officer left for the whole department. Because we share one facility, it's potentially possible. So this allows more spread out of space. That could prevent that sort of a situation from happening. Just to show what we've got here, this is oversight of the facility. Again, we're sticking to the original, even though some inputs have been made along the way. I know Phil could kind of talk more about this. What you have here is there's a brook over here and it drops off, so trying to keep it this way may minimize that impact and the need for alleviating and mitigating the impact there. This area back here is not a building. I've heard that said. That's a fenced-in area. Again, it's a place we can store a couple of cars if needed, which can happen. We've had that happen. And black screen, not good. Let's go back around. Just show some of the outside renderings. Looking at it this is from the road, different sides. This is from the back. And that's just the same thing, only got water damage. Still water. Or anything?
Yeah, just know that we had intended to get a list of all the comments that were made in the previous 2 sessions. website so that we could maybe avoid some duplication, but unfortunately with the previous administration assistant leaving, we didn't get an opportunity to do that prior to this meeting. We do have a list for anybody who would like, to see that, and we can certainly forward it on to you. And just want to clarify that as Chief said, the list of all the items raised through the 3 sessions will be reviewed with the select board and determine what elements can be incorporated, what elements have already been incorporated, and what elements won't work for the facility. I don't know if it's worth going through that list at this point. Certainly do so if you'd like. Or we can just continue for the public input.
Okay, is it okay with the board if I ask if any members of the public want to speak?
Sure.
Sure. Would any members of the public like to speak? If you could just give your name to Kathy Pounder and.
Sorry?
You're on.
Probably the biggest thing, Chief, is it big enough? I mean, you're looking at 1,800 square feet, you currently have, let's just say, a basement storage, I'm assuming it's maybe half that amount, gives you 2,700 square feet, and you're going up to maybe 4.
We're probably not just quite half the basement, so, I think this meets the needs.
Does that meet your needs for today, or meet your needs for the next 30 years?
Well, we're hopeful that meets the needs for the next 30 years. I cannot promise anything. Obviously, things can change. One of the things that's come up is, accreditation has been pushed by the New Hampshire Commission on Law Enforcement, Accountability, Community Relations, and Training, accreditation, and there's no way we could even come close to that, is what we have for a facility. It's also somewhat been pushed by presidential executive order that if you wanted to qualify for federal grants, you have to meet national standards reviewed by an outside group. It's accreditation, basically. So will we meet it? We can't meet it now, I can tell you that. There's no way we could. But this will get us towards that. I think it will work. Obviously, there are parts in here that should things get jammed up, you could repurpose if you need to down the road. And the way it's cited, one of the things that Phil wanted, I think, would mention is that the way this is cited, there is an opportunity to expand different directions with it. Other than that way, obviously, but you could expand out the back or out this side a little bit. That's the one advantage of using that site versus some of the others is that, that there's some room for expansion down the road if that's needed.
I think, just a comment, I'd like to maybe say adding more square footage to it. I'd say, should it meet this, for the next 30 years, that's a maybe, but it's cheaper to build a little bit bigger now than it would be to add or expand down the road. Construction costs obviously never go down. It's just a thought that, to make sure it's sufficient enough and help in your accreditation room, like I say, you don't know what's gonna come down the road. But it's cheaper, I think, to do things, now than it would be, like I say, down the road.
Certainly, we've seen that over the past
History.
plans where it was gonna be $2 million for a combined police fire facility, and it ended up being a fire facility for $2.3 million, so, it was, so certainly as the further it gets pushed down, the costs are gonna go up, but I think this will meet the needs and be able to be expanded as needed, both internally and externally in some ways.
And just a slight correction on these, it's a 4,800 square foot gross, which means walls, regulation, everything. So it's slightly larger than that, and we did consider the potential of having a full basement to utilize for long-term storage, additional. Again, two things we're going against that. One is there would be ADA restrictions, which limit what it can be used for, short of putting an elevator in there. And the other, clearly, is that contrary to belief, putting a basement in doesn't cost nothing. It certainly costs more than frost walls when you're on building a slab on grade. So it would seem not necessarily an expense that would work with the budget that we were aiming at, which, frankly, is a little, it's certainly a bit less than what where we stand now. But the numbers worked out that way.
How much more does the base add?
Percentage-wise, potentially 15 to 20% cost to have a full basement.
Yeah, thank you for correcting me. I want to make sure it's clear. The actual room schedule is 3,700 square feet, 3,780. And there's hallway circulation areas, that's another 500. Then the gross beyond that. But the actual room space is 3,788.
And just like I was, I want to make sure it's plenty big enough for the chief for the next
We-
umpteen years versus short term.
We did look at the town growth in Carroll County, various town growth in Carroll County. Tuftonburg has been one slightly slower growing. And we tried to extrapolate that for a 25 to 30-year period. Again, there's no way to confirm for sure that continued growth will stay a similar proportion, but that's really the only guide we have at the moment. So we have planned it based on a 30-year similar growth of the past, but it's all theory at this point.
And what I see is a bigger thing that might drop, this is set up theoretically to have 6 full-time officers, if you will, if you need to be. And what I see is more driving than population growth will be demands. You know, there have been several studies that's both federally and state school safety programs saying you should have a police officer in every school. If that were happening, there's no full-time officer. I'm just saying that, you know, there's certain things that might drive the growth beyond, or just people may say, we want 24-hour coverage. That's going to drive the need for more officers. So I think population is one factor, there's other factors too. If we have mandated to have body cameras, well, that's another drag on our time that somebody's going to have to administer that program. CALIA accreditation, that could take another, you know, all these things take time, and somebody's got to do it. So if you want people on the road and people doing what they have to do with it's going to add up. Those are the things I see perhaps most on the radar that are going to drive perhaps more officers than population is perhaps the demand through political winds, if you will.
Thank you. Would anybody else from the public?
My name's Paul Zimmerman.
Yes.
Excuse me. I think the plans are very impressive. Looks like they're very well thought out. And I think the building of 4,000 square feet would probably sit quite adequately in a town that had a population of 25,000 people. I have a very hard time wrapping my arms around a 4,000 square foot police building for 2,600 people. I'm wondering what data or statistics you're using to justify such a large building in a population of 2,600 people. In reviewing the data in the Wolfboro Runner August edition, I just don't see the statistics for use of a police department that need a building that big, particularly surrounded by Molten Borough and Wolfboro, who've got big facilities. I don't think it's a burden that should be placed on the population at this time.
Okay. Anybody else? Anything the board wants to say?
You know, I think the, trains left the station with regards to the building of police facility. I mean, that's been going on for 6 years, 7 years, we've been putting capital reserve money away. I mean, we're sort of at the, not sort of, we work at the direction of the legislative bodies. So when the town meeting puts out or a warrant article that funds additional design work, which they did this year, we are obligated to exercise that directive from the legislative body. We also put money away for building the police facility. I mean, it's our job to try to make that work budgetarily and not adversely affect the taxation on the residents. But as far as not building something, I don't see that as an option. It's not something we've already asked, or other boards have asked, prior to me getting back on, have asked whether the people want a new police station. And it's been overwhelmingly voted for. So I guess if there was a movement to come in March, it would have to be a new movement of people that are a directive that they wanted to end this program, and I don't see that.
Okay. I'll let the chief speak last. Do you have anything to add or comments?
No.
Okay. Anybody on the line calling in, to your knowledge? Okay.
People on it, but I see call one.
Yeah, that's caller one, that's us, yeah, so.
Well, I thank you folks for appearing. I'm going to say that this information session is at an end, and we'll be going on to the next item on.
Just one question. Are we having another one of these informational sessions? Or is this it?
We can.
Well, I'm not demanding one.
Right.
I'm just asking whether or not we had scheduled one. If not, maybe we can schedule a session on the police facility that was going to wrap all of this up. So we
Right,
gotta
take the input, put it into,
Right.
A direction we're gonna go with, from where we're at with the plans to the next step.
What do you see as the next step?
That's exactly what I think the next step is, kind of take the input, sit down and say what we need to, I would think that would be the next step.
Right.
Come up with some, and change the plans based upon whatever input we got that we use.
So how long would it take to generate that report, do you think?
Well, effectively, we're only adding a few comments from today, so it's effectively done. We've already listed that, so we report from the previous sessions.
And I did find that, town clerk, assistant town clerk, Jennifer Coulter can post things on the website now, so we can get that list up.
So we could presumably have another meeting prior to the budget committee hearing or meeting.
Yes.
It's in October.
Yes.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
So, would it make sense to schedule time when we're gonna be there all day on primary election day to spend on this?
September 8th,
Yeah, which is our next meeting.
is that too soon, or is that soon enough?
2 weeks from now, to be able to kind of
As soon as, if
set a direction going forward.
right, if we want to have some sort of guidance or movement on the project for next spring vote, we really need to keep this
Right.
going, so, yeah.
So I'm gonna suggest we add that to our agenda for the 8th
Sure.
and, spend some time and with the objective at the end of that meeting, he's got a clear direction of this is where I'm gonna go from where we're at now with a plan to the revision, so we can move forward to the next.
Right, because once we finalize it, in our minds, we need to do this one more time.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
Right.
Thanks.
Okay.
That's number 8.
Yep.
Yep.
And that's at the school.
We think. We're gonna hear from our moderator in about 10 seconds.
Okay, next item of business is public input. Anyone from the public like to speak on any subject?
Good anytime.
Go ahead, Dan.
Morning. Hello.
Yeah, you're next.
Morning, Joe.
Good morning, Bill, Selectmen. Good morning, Kathy. How are you? Joe Kowalski here. My only comment is, any of the people who are speaking, please bring them up to the table. You've had a surround sound people out there already, and it's difficult to hear them. So I would appreciate that. And I heard Andy fine this morning, but some of the other people, I couldn't catch the conversation. And my congrats to Chip. You spoke up this morning. I can hear you for a change. But those are my only comments, so thank you very much.
Good to hear from you, Joe. Be safe.
See you later.
Dan, come up and use the mic, please. Kathy, you know Dan Bernard. Okay.
I'm gonna lower my mask for the sake of clarity.
Yep.
My goal is just to bring you up to date on plans for the election, which is now barely just 2 weeks and 1 day away. The big issue that has been the subject of much conversation among the moderators on the moderator forum and much guidance from the state is the question of requiring masks of anyone who, or facial coverings of anyone who enters the polling place. There's a strong preference among my election workers that we should, as you do in other state other town facilities, require masks of anybody who wants to enter the polling area. A few of my election workers have indicated that unless that is the case, they may not be available to work, which is their prerogative. The issue comes up with folks who, for whatever reason, don't want to wear a mask as they enter the facility. And there's been much discussion about how do we handle that situation. There seems at this point to be two alternatives to handle unmasked people who insist on coming in without a covering. One is to have a separate facility within the building with a separate ballot box, a separate guardrail, an assistant moderator, assistant clerk, all poised to aid any voters who insist on voting without wearing a mask. The second alternative is basically to do the same thing, only outside the building, perhaps undercover with some kind of a tent or something. But again, the requirement to set up a ballot box, a guardrail, you have to afford space for any of the public that wish to observe this process, because it's all open to the public. And you have to be able to staff it for those people who come in without a mask. I don't believe, in my opinion, that there are going to be very many people who would fit that category. So it's troubling to me a little bit that we should devote the personal resources as well as the arrangements for what may be just a very few number of voters. On the other hand, if we don't require face coverings for the general public that come into the building, I fear that I'm going to lose some of my election workers, and I'm not sure how easy they will be to replace. So I'm a little bit in a quandary here as to what steps we can take. The idea of setting up a facility outside as I said, would require a tent. I think that comes under your purview, as to how we would afford that or what equipment we'd have. And so I'm here to bring you up to date and also to ask your advice, on this particular issue.
I'll provide my opinion. I can't speak for the board, but, it seems like the lesser burdensome approach is with a sheltered area outside the building. So on the 8th of September, whether that's just a pop-up with no sides on it, that provides, covering over the top, or a complete tent, I don't know. But if it's something that we need to acquire and have available, that's what we'll have to do. But
We're required to have one voting booth and at least one voting screen in order to have a legitimate voting area. But I need one booth, one screen.
A screen for,
What's that?
what's the screen?
You've seen the three-sided screen that somebody sits at a table and marks their ballot within
Are
that.
you gonna have difficulty staffing that? You're having difficulty with the current poll workers working with people that don't wear masks. Who's gonna staff that area?
I think realistically, I have to have, to plan ahead that somebody is going to serve as the moderator and the clerk, should we have somebody come in there. I can't see, well, other than the fact that I have to maintain a presence with a ballot box. If we had a separate ballot box in that separate area, then somebody has to be willing to sit and be present with a ballot box, which would be an assistant moderator, which I can appoint, but does require somebody to be there. As I say, I don't think the demand's going to be great, but if we're going to require masks in the building, I have to make arrangements for any other voters, and it has to be convenient. Curbside voting that we've talked about is not considered legal. It's not going to serve this purpose. But I agree with Bill. The tent is probably the least burdensome of the situations.
Would it be okay to make them wait? So let's say I decide I'm gonna vote without a mask.
Speak up if you can.
Okay, let's assume for a moment that I'm gonna vote without a mask.
Right.
You've set up a tent and there's a ballot box and all the needed things. Is it appropriate to make me wait for you to bring someone out? I mean, do we just need a greeter who says, okay, wait here, and then bring out a portable ballot box and a clerk, and now it's time to go in, as opposed to staffing that tent for the whole day?
I think we could do exactly what you described, and the greeter is going to be, in fact, I think I'm going to need two greeters probably. But the greeter is somebody who can identify somebody who won't get a mask, go in. We have designated people to come out, and the ballot box can be moved within the voting area, but it has to be observed and transparent and visible at all times. So,
and it's just the single ballot box?
Well,
Or you can have
no, I think we'd have to have two ballot boxes, but we have two ballot boxes. That's a better procedure, and I certainly would check to be sure that it passes muster from all the various requirements that we have, but it seems to me that would work.
Because September is going to be easy. I mean, it's just a primary, and I don't think you're going to get very many people. November, on the other hand, is going to be a big deal.
So I look at September as a practice run for the general election in November.
Right. And And it may be, for instance, in November, that due to the weather, that the separate voting area is actually another room within the building rather than outside the building.
Right.
So that it's, you know, don't have voters being exposed to, inclement weather. But,
But it still could be either or. I need to be encouraged that I could go either direction and that you would, be able to support me.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
With all the little mini buses we have in this county, why can't a mini bus be able with a tent? The greeter sits in the front seat, person goes in a secure seat, marks their ballot, they're out of the weather, they're in private. Kind of simple,
I could
isn't it?
certainly look into that. I hadn't thought in those terms, but a portable unit, in effect.
I mean, there's nothing in the federal law that says it has to be a tent.
But, and distance between the moderator proper, the voting place proper, and that satellite is not, it's only limited by the dimensions of the property, right?
Yes. And because there has to, we can't create a second voting area off that property without a town meeting.
right.
To your point, Lloyd, we would need to be sure that there was space enough so that we had the 6-foot distance between all the participants and space enough so that the public can observe the process if they so choose.
No, all the buses I know have windows.
I don't know.
Not sure whether or not that would concur. There's a question of observers also who want to be able to hear the name and the checklist and that sort of thing. So
Well, you can look into it.
several items that are in play here.
Well, huh?
I just, the chief had his hand up.
Yeah.
Just so you know, there is September 1, there's a call for law enforcement related to with the Attorney General's office, emergency management, a law enforcement call on the voting. What about more protection for the workers and not try to commit a sneeze guard, face shields? That would be, I would think.
We have already received, and I believe it's in the other room, a good deal of personal protective equipment, including sneeze guards, masks, hand sanitizer. There's a great deal of equipment that has been provided by the feds through the state that we have on hand. In fact, I'll be up probably later with Jen to assess and inventory what we're going to use.
So,
Okay.
well, I will, as far as this selectman's concerned, whichever direction you want to go with the alternate, voting arrangement, fine with me. Yeah, I think you need to determine the way it's going to work best, and then let this board know what it is that we, that you need from us to make sure that it can happen.
Okay. Did I understand you're not meeting next Monday?
We are not meeting next Monday, that's correct.
But we're still residents.
Yep, but
I mean, we have a tendency to meet Fridays all the time.
yeah,
And I think what's gonna happen in this situation is you're gonna run, if not in September, definitely in November, you're gonna run over budget. So we just got some discussion of where we're gonna find the money for a tent rental or whatever it is you decided to do.
I saw one hand up.
Yes, anyhow, I just also want to mention that your bus will need to be ADA compliant. For those about the steps and everything, it might be something to consider.
That's what I was thinking.
yeah, right.
I'm having trouble understanding.
If it were to be done in a minibus, it would have to be ADA compliant, all right, so that, somebody that's disabled would have to be able to get in there to
So
do
not
it.
only do they not wanna wear a mask.
She's absolutely correct.
Yeah,
estimates are for these people already.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a little bit over this, go ahead.
Quick question, Dan, did I understand you said curbside voting is not allowed in New Hampshire?
They did curbside voting for a couple of town meetings, but the statutes that apply to town and city meetings are not those that apply to an election. And we've received guidance from the state that curbside voting, that is being able to drive up and take a ballot to the car, will not be legal under these circumstances.
The only reason I asked is that I was a state moderator in Connecticut, and we did do that down there.
Excuse me, can we have one person speak at a time? It screws up the camera, the microphone. Thank you.
That's the only reason I asked is obviously it's not the state of New Hampshire does not recognize that.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, members of the public, everyone be safe.
Andy has some other.
Just, our drop box out front, there probably should be a sign on there that ballots can't go in there. Right, Dan, that's part of the guidance from the state.
That's correct. So absentee ballots that are delivered to the town office have to be hand delivered to somebody, town clerk, whatever.
They have to be hand delivered by either the voter's representative or by the voter himself. They can also be delivered by the mail, and we can accept them up until 5:00 p.m. on election day.
Right.
If they're hand delivered.
But they can't be dropped in the general drop box at the town
Definitely
office.
not. Definitely not.
Okay,
So that probably should have some signage,
Yeah.
okay.
just so people.
Did I hear you'll have a work session on Friday? Is that?
No,
I was speaking in general terms.
yeah, we do have work sessions from time to time. So whatever you have that you need to deal with this board, we'll deal with it between now and election day as it comes up.
Well, I was gonna say that I could set a target of some time that you are going to be meeting or working or whatever to report back on what.
Would you coordinate with Kathy on that, please? She's our secretary.
Okay.
And because she has to give 24-hour notice if we're meeting.
I can
Okay.
do that.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your dedication and stay healthy, okay?
Thank you.
Next item of business is review and approval of minutes.
Thanks, Bill.
It's exciting.
The first minute, our selectmen's minutes for 9 a.m., Monday, August 10th. I have no issues.
Hold on. Are these the minutes that you?
No, these.
Got it. All right. I'll move acceptance.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. 3-0.
Chip made the motion, I seconded.
Excuse me,
Dan?
you're having, sorry about that, the next package are stapled together are the ones that I did, and you have copies of them. I've already gone through and with yellow on the typographical errors. But let's do the first one. It's August 10th, non-public at 11:24 a.m.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. The next one on your packet is for Selectmen's board meeting, Friday, 14 August at 10:45 a.m.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 3-0. Next is August 14th, non-public at 10:45 a.m.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes 3-0. Next is Friday, 14th, non-public at 11:22 a.m.
I will move approval with one correction.
Go ahead.
And that is, when we talk about initiating necessary paperwork, insert to deed the following properties.
Okay, write that on your copy
Yep,
and forward that to Kathy, okay?
yep.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0 for the amendment. Next is Board of Selectmen minutes for Monday, 17 August at 2 p.m.
I'll move approval.
What do you do then?
That's when we were
Oh,
doing
okay.
interviews.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Next is Selectmen's non-public meeting, September, August, 2 p.m.
Wasn't that just the CPM?
No, it was
This is the non-public session.
Yeah, right. So I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
And we got one more, Floyd.
Yes, go ahead.
Do we not have the Friday, the 21st, 10 a.m.?
Yes, I do. Selectmen's meeting, work session, Friday, the 21st at 10 a.m.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And
That's it.
that's it, right?
Wait a second.
What I'll do is I'll give you all these copies with corrections so you can dress them up.
Thank you.
Okay, that's the same one.
Yep.
I apologize.
That's the head of the paperwork in this damn job.
Yep.
Good. Cool. Next item of business, Police Department update, Chief Shigori. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I apologize earlier, I was thinking Phil could leave because his presentation was done. I didn't realize the acoustics was bothering.
Yep.
So I was
Welcome, sir.
we've been a little busy. We've had several, reports of child abuse that we've had to work with the CAC to investigate. A couple of them believed to be unfounded, but we have a couple that took a considerable amount of time. Plus, we just had a sexual assault reported late one night this week, so we've been busy with that. We've also had, as I mentioned earlier, a search warrant for a vehicle. We had to deal with over in Crowell and Wakefield. Still waiting on some results to come back from the state lab. Some of the things that are going on that's problematic. There's a hiring freeze in the state, so that's meant there's openings in positions that they're not filling. For example, digital evidence now, the state lab is not doing it for us. We have to see if the state police will handle it. There's a few other things like that, the delay in getting results back on stuff we send to state lab is quite extensive.
So the car was here.
Yeah.
We had to move it to Wakefield.
I had to have someplace where I could secure it.
So that's, yeah, this area outside the new facility that's fenced in.
We'll be able to secure a car, or inside, if we need it inside to be secured, we could do that. So we've been busy with some of those things. Obviously, I did get the letters, the one about, Melvin Wharf. Don't think that Melvin Wharf, 19 Mile Bay was created to alleviate the issues at Melvin Wharf. You look like you didn't see that. Did you see that?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I remember correspondence about, late evening activity on the beach there after sunset.
Yeah, we've gone down and,
Some confusion about, whether it's acceptable to use the beach after sunset. And I know on the sign at Melvin Beach, it's specifically posted that the beach closes at sunset. And certainly for the folks in the
Right.
neighborhood, it's,
and the parking is 10 to 6. no parking at 10 at night to 6 in the morning.
Right.
And we go down typically, I mean, because there's places we have to hit and all that, typically we're going down there like at 10 o'clock telling people, because that's when we're checking, because we, two birds with one stone.
So while we allow parking there until 10, we don't allow beach use after sunset, right?
That is correct.
Can I have someplace to park?
Yeah, but there was a number of other things in that letter that I kind of, went beyond that anyways.
The use of the pier at Melvin Wharf or?
There's questions about that, and what struck me is one of the rental places next door is the only one I found using it, which I went out there during the daytime and noted it, because I was gonna keep track of how long it was there. And the person came from that rental out to say, well, I'll get it, and moved it over to their mooring. There is a mooring, but it's obviously easier rather than take a small boat out or swim out to the boat to use the wharf. But I haven't seen people using it and leaving their boats there other than those that may be along that road in that area now, this year or in the past. It's typically the people right there because it's convenient. And it's typically it's the rental right on the left, I think, that I've seen it in both this year and in the past. So, but obviously, we've been checking the beaches, checking those areas when we can. There's also correspondence about Durgan Road, which again is on our spots, places that we're supposed to check every day when we can. In fact, I did stop somebody speeding before that, in that very area. Irony of ironies, it was somebody who lives in town who complains about speeding by their house, but kind of, if you're complaining about, you don't want it in your neighborhood, people probably don't want it in their neighborhood either. And I did mark a spot, I believe a sign could go up there, another post for the radar sign. And I did speak to, the company rep last week. The week before, there was a training session in Manchester with a trade show, and the company rep was there, and I talked to them about getting another mount for that so we could put it up there. I gotta talk to Jim about putting the post, but I need the mount anyway, so it won't be able to put the post won't do us any good without the mount. That's in to collect some data. It was interesting. It was mostly at, the data was at school. Over 85% of the cars were going under 40 miles an hour. I think it was 38 was the 85th percentile, the speed. So, it's not, I mean, yeah, there were a couple going much faster than that, but, I think there were 2 over a several month period that went 70. I don't know. Yeah, it happens, but
Going
trying,
down now?
going down the hill towards the school.
Where at your brakes when you get to the?
Yeah, really.
I don't know what that was about, or, you know, but there were 2 over a several month period. It's pretty hard to target those 2, although there seems to be a time span where there seems to be some people going a little faster.
Yeah.
And it's not a usual time either. It's kind of an odd time. So we'll be looking at what we can do about that. And obviously, we have to, with that sign, we bring it back to the office and it has to be downloaded by manually plug it into there is a way to do it with Bluetooth, but it doesn't work very well. We have to actually manually download it. So that's why it's down now, to get the batteries charged and get the data downloaded, and we'll put it back up. And that's the cruiser. It now has plates. Because it came from Ohio, it didn't have a front plate mount on it, so I had to get a front plate mounted on it. Now I have the plates on it, and I have to get it inspected, and I'll be putting a list together of this and that. Comparing the 2 offers to upfit it, and going down to that trade show, I did get a couple other names I could check with to get that going, but I was waiting for the front plate mount and mounting that on, because something I didn't realize, Ohio only requires a rear, so it didn't come with one.
Ohio uses plates on both sides of vehicles. Now, maybe on police vehicles, it's only in the rear.
Maybe, I don't know. I called out there, they said, no, we only have one, so we don't we don't automatically install them.
Oh,
I don't know. Anyway, I got that, that's on, the plates are on, now I have to get inspected, and then I've got two prices now, I gotta look at them side by side to make sure they're apples and apples, because one of them doesn't do the stickers, so I'd have to get a price on doing that with the other. They just will not do the stickers no matter what, so. The other one will do everything, the stickers, everything. Other than that, pretty much everything's here for it, so it's just a matter of picking the place and running with it. The prices are pretty close between the two. Within about $1,200, I think, between the two. One was like 15 something, the other was 14 something, so about $1,200, I think, between them. One includes the box in the back, that's the other difference. The other one didn't include the box in the back, but included the stickers, so I gotta look at all that and get that going. And then other things going on, we've got, we've had some people out for a few things, and evaluations, I'm working on them. What I did with at least one is I gave them a blank for them to put what they thought, and we're gonna have a discussion why we're maybe not on the same wavelength as to where things are. I have been following the police accountability, all that acronym behind it. The law enforcement accountability, community policing and training. They've done a training report, they've done a community report, they're supposed to work on the accountability report due any day. There could be some rather significant time expenses to get in if these things go along. Right now, they're probably going to be recommendations because some of them will take legislative changes, but they're going to be, it was frustrating to me because they listened to Nashua State Police, Manchester, didn't talk to any small towns. And in fact, they asked the Portsmouth Police Commissioner if a Board of Selectmen could adequately supervise a police department. And I'm thinking, you had one of the worst, and she even talked about one of the worst police misconduct cases involving financial exploitation of the elderly.
right, yeah.
Under your watch, and you're saying the towns can't, and I'm thinking, you probably can't name all the police officers. I'm sure every one of you could name every police officer here. So I think there's a difference in what there's a difference between cities and towns and what can be done and what can't. And it's been, I've expressed my frustration to the president because he sits on it, that they're not really listening. And some of these things, yeah, Manchester can hire somebody to do accreditation, and that's what they have. They have somebody who just sits and does accreditation all day long. Body cameras, the same thing. I mean, that's going to be a few hours a week that's going to have to be eaten up by somebody. So some of these suggestions are well-intended, but I don't think they're thinking them all the way through into cost and time and significant. I mean, they're talking a whole nother layer of investigation, if you will, of misconduct, which could delay, if you put somebody on leave, how long they could return back to work.
Do the investigation?
Well, that's, the proposal last week was a independent commission. That would be staffed with attorneys, investigators, and lawyers, and whole clerks, and 23-person commission, I think is what they were talking. And
That's better than the Robespierre commission that they were suggesting for.
so it's, some of these proposals could take a lot of time and could cost. Obviously, I'm looking at, and to go with that, we have to try and get more training. I'm looking at one thing I'm working on right now, I started last week, was fair and impartial policing policy. State police worked at the ACLU and did kind of their policy and have shared it enough that we can kind of work off their work to get something in place. There's going to be, obviously, and one of the training sessions I went to recently was racism in New Hampshire. We have to have, there's going to be, I'm not sure if we'll be able to do it or not. There's going to be a 1-hour de-bias training coming up. There's going to be, we have de-escalation, and there's going to be mandates next year, I suspect, that you will have. Statutorily, right now, we have to do 8 hours of continuing education, separate from firearms and first aid. I think what's gonna happen is you're gonna see 8 hours, and you have to have de-escalation, fair and impartial policing or bias training. There's a number of training that they're gonna mandate out of that 8, or on top of that 8. It could be a significant increase. Plus, that's still separate from firearms, use of force and all that. Watching all that.
We're not, isolated. There is racial diversity that transits through our town, some that is here. We got an enormous camp population that happens every year. So I think that, training and, handling different folks appropriately is important. I don't know that, doing things the same old way hasn't worked completely throughout the land. And I think we're part of that whole program. We've had a lot, just to move on a little bit, we've had a lot of folks come in to interview. Let's set a deadline for your clerk person, your assistant.
Yeah, the deadline for the resumes was last Friday. I believe I got 10 resumes, so I'll be going through those.
I'm saying let's set a deadline for when we hire somebody.
Go to it.
I think we met at least one, maybe two, who look as though they would be appropriate for what you're looking for. So I think it's just a matter of you getting comfort with whoever it is you're gonna hire. And let's not have the perfect be the, adversary of the good.
Yeah. One of the things we have to do, because we have access to CJIS information, Criminal Justice Information System, we have to do a background.
Right.
And so we're gonna have to, I don't know if that was clear to some people who applied, there's gonna be a background investigation. And I'm not gonna, I may look at an outside contractor to do that, actually. I saw through this, watching some of the stuff in the Lee Act, that Durham uses an outside contractor to do their background investigations. I think that may make some sense in some ways, because he's a former police chief that has a company that he does it, because he can go run around and we're not running out of town, and, it may be in some ways more economically viable. I've to go back to that, I've learned some things watching that, listening to that, some of those commission meetings. And I don't disagree that training is important, but scheduling it is, especially in COVID, where there's no in-face meetings, so training are limited. I'm going to one in September on, it's for police chiefs on, that's like a cultural awareness type training. That's to bring it back to your offices, if you will, racial and cultural awareness.
On your suggestion there, can we negotiate a target date that the investigations will be at least started?
Yeah, I think you gotta narrow down your candidates to 2 or 3. Do a second interview, see how interested they are, and then hopefully you've told them that, or you will tell them that there's a criminal background check. As soon as resistance to that, then you probably don't wanna hire them anyway.
And do you have the resources in your department
To
pay for this investigation, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, having that position vacant for a while has freed up some money. I track pretty closely how we are each week. We've gone over some weeks in overtime, some weeks we're under.
Sure.
So we're doing okay. I usually, what I turn in for hours is that spreadsheet. I also have an additional page for my own use where I see how we're doing where I'm ahead of the average or below the average, so I can kind of track where I am, and there's enough resources, I expect, to do it.
And just to remind you of our conversation that we had, I don't know, a week or so ago, if you have a candidate that you're preferring or whatever, but they want more hours, we have more hours.
Okay.
I really think I'd like to limit the number of employees to a certain degree, but I'd rather have one person doing your work and then secretary for the
budget
conservation
committees or
commission,
something, yeah.
you know, just
I'll certainly,
pick up hours for them if that's.
I'll certainly communicate that. Yeah, I think that might be helpful to make it a little more attractive and.
Yeah, sure, yeah, I mean, part-time work.
Is there anything the selectmen can do to make resources available to get the radar trailer out there?
No, I had hoped to have it out. I got it all, I came in a week ago Saturday, to do that. It came in my, like, civvies to be able to fix that and put the front plate on the, because I had to do some drilling and stuff for that. So it's ready to go. I'd hope to have it out by now. I just didn't get it out Friday because things were going on. But I have it charging. I'm concerned the batteries may not be, it was just a matter of me. I had to top it up, charge it, make sure it was gonna work again. So it seems to be working. I hope, you know, I'm covering shift today because somebody called out sick, but I hope to have it out by now. So if I can, I'll get it out today.
If you need some resources, I'd be willing to try to find some for you.
No, I think it's all set, ready to run. I just need to get it out in just some time.
Is this the year that you're changing computers in the cruiser, or is that?
Yes, it is. I'm still working on that grant application. It's
Will that be
kind of
done?
some funny numbers that they want, but I'm working on it.
What do you need for resources? How can we help?
Find me some more time. But no, I'm working on it. It's one of my things on my desk to work on. I haven't forgotten it, and I certainly know it's important because we're having some problems with one of them anyways now, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
All right.
Be safe.
Do you want me to take this stuff out now or wait, come back later?
Why don't you do it right now? Well,
Sure.
do you need a hand? The next is, our fire chief. Welcome back, sir. How was your trip?
Keeps doing
Thanks, Chief.
Currently, we've had 129 fire calls, 161 medical calls, and 30 service calls, 8 special details for a total of 328. Gas burner inspections, 32, oil burner inspections, 4, wood pellet stove inspections, 5, and 16 life safety for a total of 57. State had sent out from the fire marshal's office in reference to evaluation of Class B foam, which you've probably seen in the news over the last year or so. The scope of the whole program was to see how much Class B foam that different fire departments and towns had. In 2017, we basically took care of all of our Class B foam. We had a company that came in and took 3 barrels away. It was all done legally, and we have documentation for that. As we went back through the apparatus, I found 5 gallons that we missed, and we have that off to the side. I will check into seeing how much it costs to ship that out and make sure that we don't have that in stock. I'm sure that it's not going to be as cheap as it was when we did away with everything from the beginning. I think it cost us like $200 to $300 to get rid of it before. It'll probably cost us that much just for 5 gallons. But I'll look into that. The dry hydrant on New Road Bridge has been installed and flow tested. The company that designed and installed it is GBRV Associates of Westminster, Maryland. Pictures of it. The dry hydrant had been flow tested, and we were able to get 1,306 gallons per minute over a 5-minute period of time. The elevation there is 11 feet. So that's a good addition to our dry hydrant system. The department currently has 3 new applicants. Austin Esme, no current fire or medical certifications, and he's just out of the military from the Navy. Kate Dow and Michael Dow. Kate Dow is a firefighter 1 paramedic. Michael Dow is a firefighter 2 paramedic.
Just like, is a firefighter 1 more senior than a firefighter 2?
No, firefighter 1 is the basic firefighter certifications that you get to be a firefighter.
And is there I don't know, I don't want to cause marital strife, but more importantly, I don't want to be discriminatory.
Right.
Does Kate have that much less to offer than Michael?
As far as, that's just to tell you what certifications they have.
Okay.
One is a nurse also. One has been in the fire service since he was young, and, driver operator and things like that. Started out in the community next door, and as he has moved around as far as it goes, they both just obviously purchased property on Bayview and are building a house as far as it goes. So nothing discriminatory as far as firefighter 1 or firefighter 2. It just gives you an idea of what they have for certifications as far as that goes. Firefighter 2, currently, if you want to be a full-time firefighter in a department, you need to have firefighter 2. Firefighter 1 is the basic to be in the fire service as far as it goes.
As long as you're keeping an eye on it, I'm happy.
Okay, terrific. So I've gone through the background checks for all 3. They've checked out. We've got everything back from the state. I would recommend all 3 as far as it goes. We currently have 24 members, including myself and Captain Pike. 17 are active. So we're always looking for new members as far as to supplement for those that are less active as far as it goes. There will be some letters that go out to see where people are at as we go along, and to if people are deciding that they don't want to be part of the department anymore, or what the situations are. Everyone's life changes as they go along, so that's understandable. I do have the basic information as far as for the 3 applicants. Okay.
We don't need to take any action today.
For them, no. I am just recommending the 3 of them. All 3 of them actually have been coming to meetings to see how they like the department and to be able to, the members to meet them.
And does that significantly increase the number of paramedics that we have?
Yes. We currently have 2, but we only have 1 that is operating at the paramedic level currently at this time. That obviously would bring you 2 more. And I did actually have, while I was on vacation, someone had called that was certified and also a paramedic. Not sure if they live in town or what the situation is.
That would impact your ambulance usage? I mean, you have to have a paramedic on board on that, don't you?
No, we have to just have 2 EMTs.
Okay.
As far as paramedic-wise, it's good to have an advanced level. The more that you have, the better. It takes a little bit of stress off of the one that you have.
Right.
But you want to make sure everyone is operating at, the best level that they can as far as that goes. Our ambulance-wise, I need to get you some numbers in reference to, what we have billed and what we have done so far with that, and I will get that for the next time that I come in, so that you have that. We have not done a significant amount of transports. I don't know if, that's because that things settled in as you go along, and we're used to the ambulance and things like that. Our current company, and the company that we've had, Stewart's, has been very good about transports. And obviously, as you go along, you'll see different, whether you need to transport or not. We haven't had quite so much as we needed to in the past as far as it goes. So. Yeah, I think that in a lot of cases, obviously, COVID has made a big influence on things. The department is currently working with the Marriott family in reference to installation of two 15,000-gallon cisterns piped together to make 30,000 gallons, which would be a certified cistern location for ISO, and it's for the protection of 19 Thomas Point. This is to satisfy their insurance company, which is Chubb Insurance. It would also provide a water supply for Thomas Point area year-round. Even though that most of Thomas Point is on the water, it's very limited what we can get to. Obviously, there's access that leads by one Thomas Point, which is, I believe, town-owned access right away type of thing. But we only can use that, part of the year. Once it's froze over, it's tough to get water from that. So that would make a big difference for that area. All the cost is for the project will be paid by the Marriott. The department has budgeted for all three stations to have crack sealed and seal coated, but due to the repairs for the furnaces and other unexpected expenses, we're going to have just the cracks filled at all the stations. The estimates for the seal coating all came in higher than what we had budgeted for last year. A new rotten hinge assembly was placed on the main entrance at Central Station. The door had a 3 separate hinge assembly before. The rotten hinge is one complete hinge assembly that goes from top to bottom. Apparently the door is a fairly heavy door, and the hinges started to fail on that. We've had a couple different issues with it, and while they were there, working on it, obviously they found that that needed to be replaced. The cost for that was $753.88. As I had discussed with you, I have some COVID paperwork for the Gopher Fund reimbursement. It totals $9,825.39, which came out of emergency management, which we haven't planned for. This paperwork needs to be in between the 2nd and the 15th. We've missed 2 deadlines as far as earlier as far as it goes, but this incorporates all of the deadlines now as far as it goes, and we'll as soon as the 2nd rolls around, we'll enter that in. However, I do need to have a signature from one of the selectmen on all 3 pages, and I will give you a copy of that. Again, all of the costs have come out of emergency management, which we did not budget for these COVID expenses. The one thing that I just saw while I was gone, I was looking through the emails, they will not pay for any of the dividers that were made up for example, the library or town offices, the plastic with wooden dividers. That's something that's not covered. So those were left off. We can come up with that money. That's not a problem. But the $9,825, that's a good portion of the emergency management budget.
All right, I'll make a motion that the chair sign that.
I'll second that.
I need to pass on to Bill. I'm a firefighter, so there's a copy.
All 3 pages have a highlighted on them.
Selectman Marcus. Okay. All right, second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. And that's what I have for update, so.
So a couple of questions.
Yes.
First of all, and thankfully we have a road agent here, the new road installation seems as though, does that come off in the winter?
No, it's made especially to be able to use it in the wintertime.
So we've got to be cognizant of the fact that that gets plowed.
Yep.
And, hopefully it will withstand the rigors of plowing the whole winter.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be an issue.
Okay.
They're designed to, be on a bridge like that, and, they're used, all over in different states.
And just a thought on the Marriott situation. What do you think about putting bubblers in these public access areas so that you do have access for water in the winter?
Well, if there was, an area that we could drive out on,
Yeah.
that would be one thing. Like Pier 19, we have a bubbler there, and, that is indeed certified through ISO as a draft site. However, like the one Thomas Point area, that's just a boat launch, and there's really no way of doing that. Melvin Wharf, for example, they do plow out onto that.
And there's a buffer there.
And there is a bubbler there, however, it is hit or miss of whether or not you'd be able to, use that as a draft site as far as, so it's tough. We are doing what we can. For example, Melvin Marina, where we have a dry hydrant in there, they have a bubbler that is right next to it. So that works out well.
And I realize they have lots and lots and lots and lots of money, but if I look at the dry hydrant, for instance, at my pond.
Yep.
It's just a pipe that stretches out into the water. The same setup with maybe a longer pipe into Lake Winnipesaukee and a dry hydrant.
The problem that you have is the amount of water that's over and the amount of water that's under. Obviously, it freezes down to whatever level. You can't get, in a lot of areas, you can't get low enough in the water to keep it from freezing. Like your pond, yes, because we dug down, below frost level, the water comes in and it's right at the 90-degree underground, so the water is there, so it doesn't freeze. You can't do that in a lot of different areas, and we've looked at a lot of different areas to be able to put, the dry hydrants in. So that's why that they were even talking about possibly putting in a pump system for the location. But again, the pipe has to run out a certain amount. You have the opportunity of boats hitting it, all kinds of different issues with that. You have stuff that comes in off the lake as far as filling the suction in different areas as far as debris, and sand and silt and stuff like that. You still need a certain amount of water underneath the pipe, which would put the pipe up into an area that it's either going to be hit or it's going to freeze. So that's why a lot of times the dry hydrants aren't feasible when you have to do cisterns and things like that. A pump system, it's going to cost as much as a cistern. You have to maintain it. A cistern, you basically put it in the ground. As long as it's done properly, it's there for whatever amount of years that it's guaranteed for, and you basically test them, twice a year, flowing water in and out, and it's there 24 hours a day, and there's very little maintenance that has to be done for that. It's $100,000 to get them put in the ground, but it saves you in the long run as far as maintenance wise. And that's something maybe down the road we can look at as far as town-wise, strategically locating the different stuff, but it costs a lot of money, obviously, to do so. very good idea as far as trying to get more.
Well, especially.
And I appreciate you.
You have a year like this, and, I mean, it's just been a drought.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how much water you pull out of my fire pump, but maybe.
Probably minimal.
Maybe 15 times.
Anything's better than none.
Right, especially when the house is on fire.
Do you have anything further that,
I do.
yes?
First of all, my compliment to you and Caleb. You set the land speed record as far as getting your CIP paperwork in. Thank you. You guys are always leading the pack. In past years, I've talked about combining all the departments with computers and kind of making it a thing. I haven't spoken to anyone about this, but I know you have a couple of furnace heating systems that you're thinking of.
Right.
I know he's thinking of one that's needed at the station, at his building. And we've been talking about the new police station. I'm asking my board of selectmen, is this the year like we did with computers, we kind of go global and combine some
So we're gonna
resources?
be replacing a furnace at the fire?
I don't know if we're gonna be replacing it. It's something that we looked at as far as if we continue down the road of spending as much money as we are, with fixing them. Hopefully, the new company that we have has got them to the point that they'll continue to operate without incident now. But otherwise, we're putting money into these furnaces to the point of that you could replace them. And
Right, you've spent the money, so there's.
yeah. So as far as, but obviously we're not in the heating season, but I was getting estimates on what it would cost to actually replace those, elite furnaces with something, different as far as.
So it's not part of the CIP
No,
that you put together?
no.
Okay. Do you have big capital projects for this year?
Yes. As far as, the capital projects for 2021, that stuff has all been given to the CIP. I know that, we were looking at possibly going forward with the SCBA, in 2021, because we're right on the verge of being able to get those with the money that we currently have. I think that there was like $30,000 that, there was a difference. Mm-hmm. New SCBA's now are a lifetime guarantee as far as, the units, which is great. It would save us from having to have at least 2 more years of putting money away. And also, we're doing about $2,000 a unit for the brains, the computer brain in them when we have to fix them. We've had about 3 or 4 of those that have had to go out. So if we all of a sudden have units failing, then we're going to save ourselves money in the long run.
So you're saying take the accumulated money that we have, plus an additional 30 grand, let's say, and.
Right, and replace them.
Okay.
And that's like, that would be a year or 2 years early, from
Right.
what is in CIP, but the money has, obviously come along, and the pricing is where we can actually go ahead and do that. We currently have, just over $219,000 in the CIP, capital reserve.
Are there other capital projects, or just that?
The other one was a radio, the portable radio project, as far as, that was coming up, and we're going to try to get a grant for that, the same, grant that the police department is using.
Yeah.
But that paperwork and stuff, I don't believe was available until fall. So I will follow up on that. That was right around $155,000 that we were looking to do.
And if it's a grant, we don't have to fund it and then get repaid.
Right.
It would just be a grant.
Yep.
Great.
That's everything that we have.
Well, have a safe week.
Yeah, hopefully it'll rain.
Yeah.
And you know we have a friendly face.
I do. Congratulations. I assume that, it's a full-time position?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Congratulations.
I'm doing that in between right now, here, but Monday I start.
Thank you.
Okay, be safe, sir.
Have a good day.
Next is Parks and Rec update, Dennis. I met you here. Yeah. Dennis.
Dennis Hurricane Zalembo.
Easy now. Hey, Dennis, fella, how you doing?
I'm good.
You had a busy week.
Busy week, yeah, it's good. That's what we like. I just, you look back over the last few months and the way our life has changed, I think our town should be proud that, we provide a lot of normalcy to a lot of families with, whatever, the yoga, the tie-dye, the concert, the movies, the old home days. And, I think yesterday was the highlight. Very happy on the way the picnic, turned out. Certainly I gotta thank some people. This man here helped fix some benches and took trash out for us, so I thank you, Lloyd, for that. Laura, Hodson certainly did a great job with the scavenger hunt. I think she said she had the most she's ever had. And of course, I thank the Pine Cove. We kind of entice people to go through the scavenger hunt to be involved with a door prize of, I think they gave us $100 worth of restaurant certificates, which was nice. Friday night, of course, we saved on our tent by going to pick it up. And again, Lloyd was there for us. And Cam Sentinel set it up Friday morning. And then Friday night, Bubba Bali, who worked many years setting tents up, come down to inspect it and check it out. As you know, somewhere around 5 o'clock, that storm started to come in, and you could see it coming right at you. People on the beach were scrambling under the tent. As it got worse, people left. There were 2 gentlemen left, and we're standing under the tent. The gentleman finally got scared, went under the pavilion. 10 seconds later, the tent was over the fence. And you saw last night, it was a new whip switch. They had a tent come down. So long story short, we went to Spider Web Saturday morning. They gave us some bigger spikes. The rope that we used, and Lloyd saw it, was almost like clothesline that was old, and it almost like turned to dust. So it was very poorly. So we went and got some real half-inch stuff. And Bubba met me Saturday morning. Now he worked from probably 7 in the morning to 1 o'clock. And I didn't realize, weaving the rope and burning the ends. And
He's a merchant marine guy.
Yeah, he really did a great job for us. And the tent survived a couple more storms. And you just clear the tent. Hopefully no one's going to get, injured. And it survived. And it was crazy weather, but I think it worked out. In fact, we got to bring the tent back today. But some of the people I like to thank too is Pastor Kevin jumped in and did a great job cooking for 2 hours. Larry and Eileen Gill served, and my wife. Brian Hastings every year came this year with his band, Sky Road. I did a great job. The fire department pitched in and brought down tables, brought down the grills, and that was great. But I think overall the picnic was, well, I've only seen 2 last year and this year. And the one thing I noticed about my first year was there wasn't a whole lot of kids. This year was different. And we spaced it out where the tent and the pavilion was. There was a kind of a area there where we ran, and we ran about every half hour, we ran some contests, sack race. We had 12 pie eaters. We had 30-something people in the egg toss. So it was really kind of a highlight, and I think the people enjoyed it, and certainly the band was good. The food was good. I think we had about 125. Did you think about somewhere around there?
I counted 155.
Well, there you go, 155.
And I left an hour early.
Yeah. How many hamburgers, yeah?
1.5 pounds.
Yeah, my wife said, don't be negative. As I get older, I get negative. Got to be positive. But it was a little disappointing not to see some leaders or some town employees or people that I saw last year not show up. And I know there's a little controversy about moving it down there, but I mean, you talk to our commissioners, Pastor Kevin, Brian Hastings, people, no comparison, no comparison. That's the place to have it. The scavenger hunt was right across the street, it worked out good, so hopefully we can build on that. A lot of new families, believe it or not. We had these flyers all throughout town, library and stores and fire, and I think a lot of new families saw that and showed up and actually came up and, I moved here a month ago, and so that was good. I think we're making some really good contacts with that. The old home days went okay. There was some things I think would change a little bit. The movie was a quality company. Great night, the stars were out, but we only had about a dozen people. We tried with that. We had a cornhole tournament Saturday. We had 3 music events during the week, all pretty good. We sent out letters to sponsors, and last year I believe we got about 3,000 in. This year we got half it. We got 1,500, which was still, I think, pretty good with the way thing is, the way life is. Leveling Tree Service, Wolfville Chiropractic, P&D Zimmerman, Spiderweb, Scenic Home Inspectors, Curtis Quality Care, the Pine Cone. So we will certainly send thank yous out to that, and I'm actually going to put a small blurb in the paper, a little ad thanking those people. As far as the concerts, there was one concert, I think Carolyn Ramsey counted close to 300, 19 boats and about 200 and some people on land. And it's funny because you passed a hat. In the first concert, I think we brought in 220 passing the hat. Second concert was, I think, 180, and Carolyn Ramsey was 520. So you can see she's got a pretty good draw.
She's coming back next year.
Absolutely. Outside of that, I think, we're getting ready for the yard sale. I got some time to do some maintenance issues. And then pretty much that's it. I mean, my 30-hour weeks are over, I think, back to 10. So, that's it. I'm gonna go take the tent down if you wanna meet me after.
We have a long meeting.
Okay.
It'll be afternoon.
Well, it might take me a while. I tried getting those stakes out, so.
Let's set a date for, say, the 1st of October, have your 2021 budget
Yeah,
drafted.
absolutely, yeah.
We can take a look at that.
Yeah, and this year's budget was crazy, between, no lifeguards, no income to swim, money for the stairs,
Right.
Not putting the rafts out, so there was a lot of
Movement.
Yeah, a lot of movement on that.
And anything, I mean, you've got 2 years under your belt now.
Yeah,
If you wanna change up
yeah.
your.
You learn, yeah, you're starting to learn the town. And I think too, a lot of the people that have been doing events and helping out, things change. And I think this cornhole group, a lot of new people, we talked to a couple people wanting to come on some of our boards. And I think we just gotta, look to the future, and I think these people are gonna certainly jump in and help us and get some new ideas and some new blood.
Right.
Are you continuing your contact once you're over
With what, Lloyd?
with your current business of dealing with Wolfboro and the future?
Yeah, I haven't talked to them all summer. I mean, they haven't run any programs.
And you're also gonna work with the snowmobile,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like do something to help all of us.
Sure.
And we've got, hopefully continue that program of, support for the kids at Tuftonboro Central as far as skiing and hockey and all of those programs.
Absolutely, yeah. There's 2 new officers, they're co-presidents, and I met with a lot of them. There a lot of them at the beach, and it's funny, you talk about school, and there's a whole gang of them not going back. They don't want their second grader wearing masks all day, And they've combined to do a lot of, things coming up, in the school year. But, talking to Ryan, trying to get a portalet for a movie last Wednesday, of course, they couldn't open the schools. But he had called and asked if they could put up a couple of tents. They might want to put a couple of classrooms on our field, so.
Yeah, outside. I mean, that's what I'm hearing is more classes outside.
Yeah.
as much as you can.
Yeah.
'Cause it's a safest place for them.
Just a couple other incidents, we did have a couple families, there were 9 kids that were infected, and they call it duck rash, I guess. And the ones that were near the shore 2 weeks ago, a mother called and said that, they got home and certainly she had all kinds of rashes. She wanted to let us know, so, little white vinegar and stuff, she says, a little pain here and there, took care of it. But she said the kids that were way out, and it's so shallow there, you know, I mean, it's great for families and kids, but she says the ones down by the shoreline, you know, got that rash, you know. We did have another lady from an old fencing that was there, and I didn't know there was a fence there at one time near the pavilion. I was down there, and the lady comes up to me and said, "Are you in charge?" I says, "Yes." And she says, "I want to show you something." So we're down on the grass, and we're trying to find it, and sure enough, there's a metal, almost like a needle or a pin sticking up. You saw
There
it.
was baling wire.
Yeah,
And I diagnosed what the problem was. A few years ago, when the fence was pushed in by the highway department,
yeah.
the fence has wire that they
Oh,
put around that holds
yeah.
it onto the post.
I got you.
And, that's what that was from.
So, you know, long story short, I says, "Did you step on it?" She said, "Yes." And I said, "Can I see, you know, your foot?" So she showed me her foot, and it was, so I ran back and got an accident report form and made out all the information
It's gone to prime.
and stuff. But I mean, as it was sticking up, we could find it in the grass, and you couldn't get it up, so I ended up digging it up, and it's like that long, you saw it, it's about that long underneath, and then it kind of come up like that, but, you know, I haven't.
Along the state highway, the super?
Yeah, just where the pavilion is, there's that new rock kind of a, you know, just a border, right off the rock border, there's the grass, and it was, you know, we had to get on our knees and find it.
During the regrading project, they pulled it up. It disturbed it,
Yeah,
because that entire slope, now the water goes away
yeah,
from the beach. That's why the wall is there.
yeah.
Maybe we need to be a little proactive and find somebody with a metal detector.
Already been done,
Just walk through it.
already been done.
Good idea.
That's it, gentlemen. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dennis.
Yeah, have a good day. All right.
And I'll
meet you when
Okay, and I just want to get to know.
if you want to go with this.
I'll get together with you.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
if we get it down today, we do. If not.
Yep.
But it does supposed to rain, I think, what, Tuesday?
I hope so.
How about us taking a 2-minute break to stretch our legs?
Okay, that's fine.
Jim doesn't have any better to do.
Thank you. I had someone to say hi to you.
Jim, I haven't met you yet. Thanks for all your help, appreciate it.
Oh, no problem, anytime you need, we can just give me a call.
Yeah, I'll let him. Have a good one. Take care.
So,
I'll stay far enough away.
you what?
I'll stay far enough away. You look good. I was like, that looks like you.
Yeah, so the guy, I was working with a guy, I worked with him from school district before I came here. And a gentleman said to say hi to you, Ron Berry. Berry. He said it's been like 7 years or something like that, since he talked to you. I guess you guys went out boating different times or whatever, but he said to say hi to you. I'm like, okay. He said, you'll see him before me, because I haven't seen him in a while.
Where'd you do that?
June 15th. Wow. It's just kind of timing of everything. I took a job of Robin Farm, and then, this came available, and I'm like, wow. Full circle.
I thought I saw your husband's motorcycle off the side of the road, too.
Yeah, one of his toys, yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, thanks. We're glad to be back.
Glad to see you back.
Yeah, I'm glad to be Six would be back, supposed to be back. My mom had gone sick, so I came back for a couple of years, and then we went back out. So we had finished the 5 years. Are we on a break?
Yeah. What do you need to say? I don't know if you're around, but you're.
We all set to resume?
Yep.
Good morning, sir. Morning. Welcome.
So are we, well, Jim's getting ready, are we gonna have, Kathy redo the Tuesday, September 8th? I'm looking at the one that, Chuck created.
That's just a room that.
Because I know that Bill wants to ask somebody about the police department.
Right.
Disregard that.
Are we all set? Go ahead, sir. Okay. Anyway, since last time we met, we worked on the ditch lines on Phineas Graves Road, where we cleaned them all out. They were pretty full again. And we also found an old rusted out metal culvert that was half plastic and half metal, so we swapped that out, put in an ADS culvert there. And we cleaned up after the tropical storm that blew through on August 5th. We filled a few potholes with coal patch and a few different roads. And we worked on drainage on Federal Corners Road, up at the top where the road is dirt. We removed a big banking that had a telephone pole, and the banking kind of like protruded out into the side of the road, and it always screwed up our ditch line. So the telephone pole has been removed this summer. We removed that bank and put the ditch line back against the stone wall where it actually, belonged to start with. And we replaced an old metal culvert up on the top of the hill there as well. We found that it was all rusted out. And we replaced it with an ADS culvert. And we replaced a collapsed culvert on the paved section of Federal Corners Road between North Line and Brown Road, and replaced that with an EDS culvert as well there. And we rebuilt a fallen down head wall on the end of a culvert on Union Wharf Road. The mowers just happened to touch a rock there, and the whole thing went down. It was an old head wall. It's probably 40 years old. So we had to rebuild that. And we started sweeping up a few of the intersections that had sand on them just for safety reasons. I think we have a few more to do now after this past weekend with the rainstorm. That's basically our update as far as things that we've worked on.
So is the mowing all done?
They're still working on it.
Yeah, I saw them, but I hadn't seen where they're working now, but.
Yeah, it is a month-long project, so yeah, they're getting there though. I think what they've done looks pretty good though.
Yeah.
Done a nice job. As far as the paving budget, I know that Lloyd had asked me about this last time, and I tried to figure it out the best I can. But on North Line Road, when we changed things this spring, I don't know if you remember, but we were going to pave all of North Line. Then we decided on 2,500 feet so that we could pave a different section of Dame Road. That distance was driven by budget, but at the time of the paving project, we noticed that 2,500 feet stopped just before a broken up area of the pavement, and it just made no sense to stop in front of that because it was certainly going to be a problem for plowing this winter. So, I made the decision, and we paved far enough to get past it. I felt it was necessary, and so the cost difference
went from $72,395 to $74,868.92, a difference of $2,473.92. But I think that's kind of, money in the bank in the long run to do it now, as opposed to after we cause damage to the plow or something.
So how long a section did we actually pave on North Line?
It was closer to 2,600 feet. So we did use a little bit more of our budget there than we expected, but, I think we're okay. We still have a section for, grinding and paving in September. It's 3,040 feet on Dame Road. The cost of that's $84,855. Plus, we got a gravelled edges on North Line, the 2,600 feet as opposed to 2,500 feet. And we have the 3,040 feet that we'll have to do the gravel edges on Dame Road. So if I did my math correctly, I kind of took what they did, because they gave us a price of $21,350 to do the 3 sections that we'd originally talked about, and now we're only doing 2 sections. So it came out to $2.87.7 per foot. So my calculations are, to do the 2 sections that we have, it's going to cost us $16,240. So with the paving and the gravel, came up with a price of $101,095. Of course, it's not a perfect science, things could change like they have all year long, but we have a balance of $102,225 left in the budget, so we've got $1,000 worth of wiggle room.
Is that $1,000, a few hundred of it going to be used to pave around the grate at the intersection of
I would like to see them do that for free, but again, don't know how that wasn't paved all the way around it to start with. We talked about it, so.
It started to wash out this last storm.
Yeah.
You and I looked at it.
Yeah, I don't know how they did.
At the intersection of North Line Road and Ledge Hill Road, there's a catch basin.
They just worked on.
That's right.
They just paved it.
And they paved through the catch basin. And that corner already is starting to break down. They didn't do the swale or around the catch basin, so dirt's and gravel's going in it.
And it's a small area, but it absolutely needs to be done.
Hey, that's great, you found a way to stay within the budget, thank you.
Doing our best.
Oh, I'm sure you can spend that other $1,000.
Easily.
And they're still targeting September to do the paving on Dame Road?
Right. So for Wayland Road this year, we have to make it till, December 31st. And just quickly going over, we're estimating. We've never plowed this before. I don't know what to expect. I know it doesn't look like a very fun road to plow, and I'm guessing that for every storm incident, we could be there 3 times, between treating it, plowing and treating it. And if we have 5 incidents, I'm guessing, between now and the first of the year, it could cost us, with the sand, we got to figure in the cost of the sand and salt. I'm estimating that to be between $2,000 and $2,500, just for plowing and treating.
For 15 visits?
Correct.
Okay.
It's a guess. We don't know. Don't know the weather, and I've never plowed that road.
And that comes out of this year's budget somewhere, right?
It's going to come out of this year's budget. And also, we need a turnaround at the top of the road.
Right.
And I've already given you an estimate on that, what I think it will cost. That was going to be about $3,600. We got to cut down several trees, stump it. We got to move some bankings around, and we need to add gravel to it. We got to make it big enough so that once we put snow in there all winter, that we can still get turned around. As opposed to halfway through the season, we realized we made it too small.
Right.
Then we still have the fall road grading. That's going to need grading for sure. You know, I don't know how much gravel is actually on that road. You can see it looks a little thin to me in spots, but it definitely needs a crown. And, you know, we need to grade it. We're probably gonna have to add gravel. We'll grade it, make a crown, and then we need to roll it, and we gotta put on calcium. We gotta try to stiffen that up so it doesn't wash, and we don't get all that washboard effect that's already started on it. I have an estimate of 5,500 to do that. You know, we don't know exactly how many loads of gravel, but we'll know more as soon as we start grading it. We find out how much gravel is on the road. When we start pulling up rocks, we know we have a problem, you know, if you start pulling up 6-inch minus.
So what's your total that you're estimating?
So, you know, that's $11,500, you know, for those things that we just talked about. And if I do just minimal tree trimming to, you know, keep the limbs from hitting the trucks, and minimal ditching, you know, drainage that needs to be done, I think we're gonna burn up that 14,000 very easily, because that only gives me $2,500 to do that. So.
What 14 are you talking about?
The $14,000 that may be coming from.
Yeah, and it's actually, it's
20.
actually 20 now.
It's actually 20.
Oh, it was
So,
raised. Okay.
It was, the two of them together, came forth with 20.
So hopefully there's been an account created that is expendable. That's what Diane was directed to do. So when your bills come in, that account will get tapped for that project. And we should probably get started on it. I mean, if you've got the time to do it. You got $20,000 sitting there waiting to go, and we need to, I think, still vote to accept the road.
We do, yes.
So,
and, you know, part of that is having a clear idea of the additional work beyond all this that is gonna take, which you'll get a better feel for once you do the initial work and start actually doing maintenance on the road. Then it's like, okay, so we talked about these other things, and for sure this is something we gotta,
and maybe we can get Kathy when she starts full-time to get with DRA and see if we can vote to accept the road, start spending the money, and then over the course of this fall, whatever betterment we might have to put on that.
Yep.
Because I think we have to accept the road before we spend the money, even though it's somebody else's money.
And I know we had some back and forth with the municipal association legal folks on that. I just don't remember where it ended up. There were a number of questions that were floating around, and I mean, it's.
So maybe we'll put it, hopefully we can answer all the questions by the 8th, and we can put that on our agenda.
Yep.
And then Jen will be.
I have a question. Next year, is the work on to take the trees down, widen it, which is gonna be extensive over multi-years, right?
Yes.
And we're talking 6 figures. Is that a capital improvement project?
On Willand Road?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's funded differently.
Right. It's not.
You have to include it as an expense. I suppose you have to put on your CIP, but your funding mechanism is a little different.
Especially if we go with a betterment easement, right?
Right, and that's still an open topic.
Well, it's a work in progress, yeah. The nice thing is we have neighbors that are willing to work and people who have stepped up to the plate.
And we don't,
I have a strange question. Rather than rushing this year and getting the turnaround in and hauling and all this, is there a contractor we can pay to plow and sand the road if we make the sand available?
That I don't know.
And they're still gonna need to turn around.
Right.
You know, and I don't know that if you got a 6-wheel, 1-ton or whatever that you've contracted to plow that road, I don't know, maybe they can get through a whole winter without having to wing it back and do some work that our big truck can do.
The thing about winging it back too is you don't wait until it gets to be.
Right, no, you gotta,
You know?
right, yeah.
When it's frozen, it's a problem.
Well, you and I talked about this when we came up with a name, and you said you could go dump the sand up there. And would Skip be willing to continue to plow it if we paid him?
Yeah, well, we've all mentioned that, but we've actually never approached him on that, but I think.
Well, so part of what I see as the benefit to your guys plowing it is that then we know what it takes, okay? If we have the guy that's been doing it right along, keep doing it, then we still don't answer the questions about, you know, how it will work for us. We know that he plows it with a small truck and pickup truck, and so the way it's done with that is a little different than what you normally do, even with the smaller equipment you have, right?
Well, I think there's a standard that's expected to be maintained.
Right.
And we don't know.
Right.
If that's the way he's would be planning to do it or not, because, I think he said a lot of times he'd wait to the end of the storm and drive down it.
Right.
Which, is fine if you're going downhill, but it's a little tougher to do that at the end of the storm trying to go uphill.
So you explained something to me. One of the reasons why your truck does well on Durgan Road is you're going with a lot of gravity. Okay? And when you come back up, you can pick your wing up and you're plowing instead of 60% of the road, you're doing 30% of the road, right? And it works. However, you go into Canyon Valley, and you've slid backwards more than once, haven't you?
I have.
And it's an absolute straight stretch.
It is.
Okay, plowing uphill on that hill, you're, just like at Phineas Graves Road, you're gonna have the wrecker there a couple times a year, aren't you?
Hope not.
I don't know that, I don't see the Willand Road being as significant as Phineas Graves. Primarily because you don't have that 90-degree corner down at the bottom. I mean,
I'm talking just the hill,
yeah.
just the engineering of the hill. They're about the same.
Yeah, but you don't have any momentum. If you're going up Phineas Graves Hill, you're starting from a crawl, because you had to make it around that corner to start up. At least in the Willand Road, you're starting from a straight stretch.
Honestly, we do Phineas Graves, we start from the top, go down. Once you have one section plowed and treated, if you start to slide, you can usually get back over to there and stop yourself. But when you're going uphill, you don't want any momentum. That's the one thing that I've learned. You don't want to be going fast up a hill while treating. You want to go slow and put down some good amount of sand, so that if you do break traction, you can stop.
Well, technique is technique. I'm less sanguine, if you will, about contracting that than I am by having Jim do it, for the two reasons that he needs to get used to that road. And I'm not certain maybe we can hire contracted plowing for the same or less than we budget for the town road agent. If that's the case, then we need to look at our plowing of all town roads.
Well, and when we've looked to hire additional guys to plow, contractors to plow with you, what we found is that the cost, there was an availability issue, right?
There was no interest.
And the contract stuff that happens out there is at a much higher price than what we pay to do it with your crews. Am I right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think Lloyd's right in saying that this is a multi-year improvement process. And that's what leads me to believe that a betterment is maybe a poor device. And we may have to look twice at that.
Yeah.
for another day. Thanks. Okay. And you're gonna have your highway budget ready for when?
I can probably have it ready shortly. You know, I guess one of the questions I have for the, CIP part of it, on the heating system for the highway garage, I think we have that first scheduled for, 2022. I think personally that should be, in the floor heating system as opposed to hot air up high.
So you're gonna re-pour the slab? Or
I think that's the way to do it.
you don't have a lift in there,
We don't have a lift.
so there's no penetration problems.
Right.
The problem with insulating the slab is you really have to take the old slab out, because you gotta insulate underneath it.
And I've done that before on other jobs.
Yeah.
We've come in, a friend of mine has a hammer on his mini excavator. He came and broke it up. I came in with, a skid steer and another, machine to pull it out, got it out, regraded it all, put down the styrofoam insulation, stapled down the tubes.
Yeah.
And your plumber hooks up a furnace to it.
I mean, I have it in the barn I took down from the Piper House, it's the workshop of my daughter, so I also put it in my garage.
Yeah, I think
I mean,
radiant
it's
heat.
the best way to heat a working space, because when the door opens, you drive out and then you close the door and it's back to operating temperature within 2 minutes.
I think you can sell that, first of all. You have equipment in trucks that have to have a minimum heat, or the when you go to jump in it to go sand at a fire, how long will it warm up in cold weather? It won't. The other thing is, your facility is likely a transfer station. There's not people there all the time. You have to have a source of heat. The other thing is, when I sat down with you and talked about, construction CIP projects, you mentioned you were thinking the following. It isn't just a heating system for the building, it's the slab. The slab also is, when we talked about out front, that apron needs to be repaired. But wait a minute, there's some moving the water that needs to be done. And then you said, what's going to be torn up when this equipment comes in for the cell tower? So still, for CIP purposes, we need to have some figures by September 9th. Okay? As far as CIP projects, town truck replacement. Yes, we have the town truck replacement, which, I had that on for 2022. I started thinking about it. I still haven't checked it. I still need to do that. I can do that today. But didn't we purchase that in 2014 as of 2015? And if that's true,
Yeah.
we're supposed to trade it in. The deal was you get your best bang for the dollar on trade-in at 7 years. 8 years, you can start to have problems, and you got to decide, what do you do? Just keep putting money into it, or,
Well, on that note there, you and I had a conversation about this is the year that it goes out and gets put up on a lift, and we have the person of your choosing go right through it. And maybe that would buy us 2 or 3 years, correct?
Maybe, but I already know.
So what you're thinking is you wanna pull that project in a year.
Like next summer type of thing, like, I believe that next summer would be.
Now's your opportunity as you put your capital program inputs in to update your submission and the time period you wanna do it in.
I thought I'd run that by you guys first to see what your thoughts were. I don't wanna, if you have other plans.
It's 7 years old, I'm not in favor of spending another nickel on it. I mean, we need to get rid of it, maybe next spring.
It already has a problem that we're running into on the back body.
Yeah.
It's rusting out in the rear, corners. And we found this the other day when we had an electrical problem. Lights wouldn't work, and the fuse box was making this bad, terrible humming sound. I'm like, well, it's dead short somewhere, so we figured it out. And the inside of that's rusted thin. And, taping on the wires, and we noticed that the actual tailgate is not even hanging correctly anymore because it needs to be restructured. We can do this, I've done it before on one of my old plow trucks years ago. We rebuilt it ourselves in the corners, we have the ability to do the cutting and welding. But, it's probably,
So you do that, but that's not the end of it. That addresses that problem, but there's the next problem that comes after that. Yeah, there's a reason that towns tend to run plow trucks.
So I've fixed
7
this
years.
before on my old plow truck, and we got that fixed one year, and then the next year, the inner dump bed was all screwed up, and we had to rebuild that, and it's like, well, it's rusted. It's rusted bad on the,
Yeah, I mean, I think if we can maintain it through this winter, get the plowing done this winter, and at the same time, establish what we're replacing it with, get some bids out there, and just make it it was inevitable. If we wait until 2021 or 2022, it's not gonna be less inevitable.
Right.
So, we need to get together and put a bid out, so the CIP has something,
Yeah.
correct?
okay, so, I don't know, when you say get together, how would that happen? Is that something I just put out to the few companies that I would like to deal with?
No.
Because I don't know that I want to do international. They have a terrible.
No, absolutely, you can choose to make them, you gotta put it out on the street. You don't have to buy the lowest bid.
Right.
But you have to justify not buying the lowest bid. And if you come to me and say, I'm not buying an international, I'd say, you're goddamn right, you're not buying one. But we need to put it out globally as much as possible, and then.
Why not match the state bid list of the same truck the state buys? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like they might be
That's a question
international.
the CIP is going to ask.
Yeah.
Yep. I believe there's still, they still run international, but they change their trucks every 3 years.
Right.
That's a, significant
They
difference.
also lease.
And there's a reason why, although I think Peterbilt might be going a little far with Ossipes, but there's a reason why, a better constructed truck is better for small towns because they do last longer.
Yes, that's why I went with the Western Star, is they actually have a galvanized cab as opposed to metal, less rust.
Mm-hmm.
All right, anyway, I think we need to get that process working, and I foresee, or you should plan on, even though I can't make the decision solely, plan on next year you're gonna replace that truck, so that we can look at the numbers early enough and make recommendations or whatever we're gonna do. I mean, we may find that the budget can't withstand it, at which point we're gonna have a totally different discussion, but until we know the numbers.
At least we have the information.
Right. And, yeah, when you do your regular budget, operating budget, that's all kind of cash, but your paving warrant article I think we'll have a group discussion on that.
Yeah, that would be.
That's gonna be, we need to expand that in my mind, but it's determined upon the budget as a whole and our ability to manage that number. We've already started those discussions internally, and make sure that you.
So maybe next time, you're on the agenda, primary election day, I believe,
Yes.
right? To come back. Maybe that's the time that we spend some time looking at
Yeah.
where we want to pave next year.
So, I can't really get any numbers from Frank until we have, you want me to at least pick a few roads that I,
Well, we can figure it out. I mean,
So we can say, all right, here's what we did this year. So we know we want to do this and this and this, and oh, by the way, we ought to do this as well. So you get total number of feet, and before we get an actual number from all states, we can extrapolate from what we spent this year, and if it's.
See if it's anywhere near what we can spend next year.
Right, so, and, if it's whatever it is this year, if we end up determining, we need to up it by 25% or 30% or whatever it is, that's gonna get us in the ballpark.
Yeah.
That we can deal with.
I'll try to get some numbers for at least finishing Dame and North Line.
And make sure you, and I don't know whether you did that with Karen or you did it yourself, make sure you get your paving surveying thing updated with Lakes Region as well as your culvert, because you just mentioned you replaced a bunch of culverts. Let's keep those programs updated so we can, and I think Karen did it for you, didn't she? I'm not.
She did, actually.
So you need to get with Kathy at some point in time and walk her through just what's there and how to access it. I'm sure she can figure out who to call if she needs help.
You and I had a candid conversation, and you educated me about paving with the current company, and what did you share with me? You were complimentary and you were frustrated. What were those comments?
Well, Frank has been obviously a very big help to us over these past few years. He's answers the phone every time I call him. He's very good about responding. I think they do a great job. He doesn't own it anymore, and I don't know exactly when he's leaving, but I think it's in the near future. And,
So he doesn't speak for Allstate, right?
he is not the owner anymore. So
That's right. Well, I did some checking. I'm aware of 4 other towns where Allstate through Frank, who is their agent, talked about how they were gonna accommodate us and have all of this paving done so we could do line striping, center lines, stop lines, correct? That's right. And isn't it amazing that we're now waiting for the second time in 3 years, there's gonna be snowflakes on the ground? Remember Brown Road, they were doing it in, near freezing temperatures, remember? A couple years ago?
I don't.
Okay.
I apologize.
I do.
Remember that.
The thing that I was pleased with, I complimented you on, last year we had a mowing company, and you stood up to them and said, you underbid it? Do it. Well, we're getting a little bit of bait and switch here as far as I'm concerned, and I'm gonna make a recommendation, I'm considering making a recommendation that paving go out to bid. Because there's a couple of other companies that would like to have a chance to come to Tuftonboro.
I'm not opposed to that if that's what everybody would like to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think putting it out to bid's not a bad idea, even if you wanna keep Frank.
Yep.
But Frank's not gonna be there forever, as you said.
I'm not sure he'll be there next year. Yeah.
Yeah, so
But
you need to start building a relationship somehow. And if I were Allstate, I'd be having somebody tag along with Frank to build that relationship, rather than Frank retiring and then a brand new face shows up and you have no idea what.
So, well, in my mind, an important piece of putting it out to bid is we gotta decide what it is we're gonna pave. So we can go out with a request for proposals for paving the following sections of road, 2,800 feet of such and such from, and so and so and so, and all of the stuff that goes with it. And then whoever can bid. And as Chip said, we're not forced to go with the lowest bidder. But it gives us, right, it gives us an opportunity, and, we've had projects that we haven't done with a low bidder in the past because of concerns about the competence of the company to do it. So, their past performance elsewhere and other places you take into consideration. But it does two things. Keeps the current contractor honest, gonna sharpen his pencil if he wants to continue to do the business. And it gives us an opportunity to broaden our horizons a little bit and consider other folks. I know when Frank owned the company, they, year in and year out, did very good work for us.
And his numbers were very good. He actually had good numbers, because it's paced.
I mean, to underline all of this, not to protract this discussion too long, you gotta get off of working on Dame Road, North Line Road, Brown Road, and Ledge Hill Road. We gotta expand our horizons into the rest of the community. And I know that you've got Dame Road to finish up. I know that there's some talk about working out there on Williand Road. On the, Federal Corner side of Williand Road, I guess, that end. And
Federal Corners Road.
you still got some paving to do on Northland Road. My gut tells me I don't wanna go to town meeting paving Dame Road, Northland Road exclusively next year. Cause at that point, we will have spent 3 years in one place. And we need to move. Or at least add to that. That's why I'm saying the budget needs to grow a bit, cause we need to.
And in the past, we have been able to do that a little bit. You know, we've done some roads that were poor shape,
Right.
smaller, and we got them taken care of. But, you know, we've been working on the bigger roads, and fortunately, it eats up the whole budget.
I'm gonna stop. We've asked you, to do a lot of paperwork. We are currently hiring people to do secretarial work for different committees and whatnot. The time has come, Jim, for maybe the town to make available, and you put in your budget 5 hours for a secretary. You could do some of this phone calling and some of this typing. Because now I'm going on to the next subject. What's the status of the Sanders?
They're coming in. We'll have them, by the middle of September.
Where's the paperwork?
Well, basically, I have the original estimate that we got back in.
So you ordered these without putting them out to bid?
So this,
Did you go to 3 different vendors, you told me?
I did. I went to 3 different vendors. I just have my notes. I need to probably put these notes into something a little bit nicer than
And how much,
but
and how much do you want us to spend?
so it, you know, after putting it out to bid, but this is, I mean, I've been working on this for a while. If you look at this one,
Yes.
this is 1/6/2020. I mean, it was not like I just started this.
No,
Right.
I understand that.
And the warrant article that was passed was based upon the pricing we had, right?
Correct. I think it was, it was based on.
$14,000. So how much did you spend?
So we came up with, $7,213 each, plus we're gonna get a $500 trade-in. Oh, excuse me, 7,000, I say 17, 7,000.
14,400 minus,
We're gonna have $500 trade-in.
so you're under your warrant article by $300.
Is it $500 for each unit?
Or 500.
The trade-in?
We're only trading in one, our oldest one, the oldest Sander we have.
Yeah, one trade-in.
We have 3 Sanders now,
Nope,
right?
nope, we have 2.
We have 2?
Yeah.
And we're buying 2 new ones, and we're trading in the 2 old ones, right?
One old one.
We'll end up with 3 units.
What we decided on was we were keeping one as a backup, the newer of the old.
I took a look at those Sanders, and they're a bunch of crap. Why don't you go take a look at them? And we don't want an old dump truck.
Well,
No, I don't want an old truck, but
I'll defer to you, who has 2 generations in construction business. Go look at those Sanders.
I'm not, and I appreciate what you're saying,
backup though.
but I have to kind of defer to my elected road agent. That if he wants to keep one old sander, which is gonna effectively change the deal by $500, just in case we need to use it as a backup. $500 is pretty short money to hold on to it. I'll go look at it, Mr. Chairman, I'll take a look, but I don't know that it'll change my opinion that for $500 it's gonna make any difference at all.
No, I mean, I'll buy the thing for $500 and just keep it as a backup if it's.
And then rent it to us for lots more money. You know, and that's the situation you get into, right? Making Mr. Bean rich. The last thing I want.
But, you know, when you need it in an emergency,
Yeah.
you have to have something.
You throw it on somebody else's truck and have them see it. You have to, I mean, gives you some.
I'll let you, do you have any other issues?
No.
I sat down with you about encumbered funds.
Yes.
Okay? How much money has been spent on, Federal Corner Road?
I don't have that figure in front of me right now. I get an update budget for this
Okay.
week.
It's over 10 grand, right?
Not for that's going towards that project, no. Are you talking encumbered funds, or are you talking about, special projects?
I'm talking about from Burley Road back to the camp. How much money has been spent
Oh, okay.
on
So,
that project?
on that project, okay, because I know that we put it under different, part of it was summer and part of it was
But it's not
the
summer,
drainage.
is it? It's not a summer project.
Well, that's what we do in the summer, we
Work on things.
do drainage.
Okay.
So we are working on that area?
It's finished, yes.
Okay, good.
Yep, you should take a look at that, I thought it came out. So we passed an article on the warrant this year that included drainage improvements on Federal Corner and on Ledge Hill. Now, I don't remember how much money we put in for it, but one of the things that was included.
Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things that was included, I think, was adding a catch basin.
$34,000.
Yeah. Now, you haven't started doing any of that work yet.
As far as the catch basin on Ledge Hill, is that?
The catch basin on, we talked, on Federal Corner.
Okay.
The
Yep.
design study that was done last year.
Yep.
By HEB on drainage on Upper Ledge Hill and on Federal Corner. So, total cost of which, between the two of them was, I don't know, half or $750,000 to do full bore. We agreed, and this year put an article on the warrant, and it was approved to spend $30-some thousand to do some of the drainage improvements, that were in the.
Have you read this?
Yes.
In their design.
It said before any work's done, they recommended we go to DES because you gotta change some wetlands.
That's if we're changing, that's if you go by the full blown. All we do is clean up the ditch lines, I mean, that's
Right.
standard maintenance.
And do a catch basin or?
Right.
And we just cleaned up the ditch lines.
Right.
But it was 2 weeks worth of work there, it's over $10,000, and I say it should come out of the warrant article. We had this conversation.
Did we, is there money sequestered or whatever that word?
You're right,
Yes.
but
Not the warrant article, Boyd, I'm saying money from a different
Encumbered.
year. Encumbered.
I don't think there's encumbered money for that.
Yeah.
That was for some other small projects.
I saw it here. Federal Corner Road, yes, $4,064 for HEB.
Yeah, that was for the design work.
And Ledge Hill Road, and they did the design
Yeah.
Right.
for both.
Right.
Yes.
So the 34 grand is what he worked
Yes,
on.
that's a warrant article,
Right.
And that money.
and that road has been improved. It's a substantial amount of improvement has been done there. A lot of material was removed.
a lot of material.
So we need that bill and we need to see what's left and we need to work on
Right.
it.
So what I did was we had this conversation about a week ago.
Yes.
And I billed everything from there on, on that project towards the warrant article. If you'd like to go back for the previous week and add that to it, we could, but
Well, the reason I'm doing this is, if you don't, how are you gonna make up the $16,000 on spring maintenance that you got to make up somehow?
I
Plus,
see.
you also have got to come out of your budget to get through December 31st, right?
Mhm.
On Willen Road. Correct?
Yes.
And I went up there, and it's a substantial amount of work, it's wider, it's part of a multi-year process.
Well, let's let Jim finish up the work that he's gonna do, and then on the 8th, when he comes in and we have a longer discussion, let's talk specifically about how it's, and we'll get Diane to impact them, give us a budget.
I asked Diane about it, and she said that she doesn't know what I'm talking about.
Well,
She did get back to me. It took her a day to figure it out, but
right, it's the
You're
warrant
correct.
article is what you were
Right.
talking about, not encumbered funds.
Correct.
So that's what threw her off.
Now, can I shift gears? Did we do any Dame Road culverts this year?
I'm not sure if we did, I don't think we did.
Okay, because I thought we did, because we encumbered $14,400 for Dane Road culverts.
That's for that deep culvert up at the top.
upper section.
Yeah.
We haven't started that yet.
Okay, I wanted to make sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we do have $14,000 encumbered for those upper section culverts,
Yeah.
which is the real deep one.
Right.
I have some other questions, I'll give other people a chance to speak.
We had $50,000 worth of money sitting in the budget in the form of warrant articles and encumbered funds for road work. So I would hope that by the end of September, we'd have it all done.
Well, I think we're gonna be in pretty good shape, and,
Yeah.
moving right along. We really just need the paving done on that's out of my control.
Well, I guess, of concern to me with respect to the warrant article for this drainage improvement is that we had talked about specific things that were gonna be included in that, like adding this catch basin and doing this, that, and the other. And we need to make sure that those are things that we spend this money toward and not.
Yeah, it's working towards the design.
Right.
As opposed to just repairing what we
Right.
have.
So that, other monies that we spend up there maybe don't all go toward what's on this article. In other words, some of it's gonna come out of your regular maintenance, but the specific features, and when we reviewed the design with HEB, we talked about some of these things that were recommendations that were bigger projects than just the normal ditch maintenance and that sort of thing, some of which I think you've done up on upper part of Federal Corner. And those we wanna make sure that we charge against the project. So to a certain extent, it's not just, here's how much money we spent, but, okay, this is gonna go against normal maintenance. But this, because we're actually moving this over, or we're chopping this hill down or whatever, part of the design recommendation, we're gonna charge that against the article, so it's sort of clearly delineated.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Can I bring up another issue?
Sure.
You and I had a healthy conversation, and I like your suggestions. Tree cutting. What are your thoughts?
Well, since we have so many, Lloyd actually had a pretty good idea last year. He mentioned possibly hiring a tree company like one day a week. That's actually starting to make a lot of sense where we have so many. I think it's a good way to get ahead if we can afford to do that. We could put that out to bid. It's not gonna be cheap, maybe I don't know if we wanna do 52 weeks or we do 45 weeks, something like that. Maybe we get a better rate in the wintertime, people may be looking to fill their winter work, but I think we need to do something. We have a lot of dead trees.
I have a sample, article for the newspaper that I got from Center Harbor. They have a copy of it. I'd be willing to work with you on that, if you wanna put it out to bid.
So I have asked a few questions around and stuff to the tree guys and trying to get an idea, a ballpark idea, what would cost for a day to have a bucket truck and a chipper truck with two men. And then the question came up, well, what about, traffic control? Is that something they wanna supply, something we supply? At least my guys have taken the class, for flagger certification, we have the signs, we have the knowledge. It might make more sense that we take care of it, it might be cheaper, I'm guessing as well. But we're probably looking anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 a day for those two pieces of equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I had a discussion, and it was a candid one. You were very constructive, and I appreciate your give and take. When we have our talks, you're constructive. Thank you. The first thing is, when a company comes in and takes a tree down, they're responsible for disposing of the whole thing, right? And And if the landowner wants some cordwood, they go dump it in his driveway, right?
Yep.
Okay? You don't have to pay in March and February to have your guys take your loader, when, let's say we have a bad storm, gotta take the loader, take the plows off, take the sander out for $500, spend 2 days cleaning up, and then another $500 to put everything back together so you can go plow. That's $1,000, a couple of trees. And I will show you the bills, boys and girls.
So what do we budget now for
$15,000 that we budgeted now.
Okay,
That's
so,
effectively 10 days for a tree company to come in here, 10 days and clear trees.
Now,
so if,
I've done a program audit. Last year, how much did we spend on trees when you talk about all the different accounts?
That I don't have the
Remember I
number.
told you?
I don't remember the number, to be honest with you, but
It was almost $22,000.
that sounds about accurate.
And this year so far, we're up over 30,000. If you figure in all the warrant articles and everything else. You made the suggestion.
Where's, excuse me, John, where's the 30 grand coming from?
Trees and stumps that have been removed through all storm damage, construction projects, warrant articles.
Right, but let's make sure we talk about apples and apples. You're not talking about hiring a tree company to do what Jim would normally have done during road construction, removing stumps, the occasional.
Well, we had a conversation about that, didn't we?
Well, I would like to see the tree company take care of the trees ahead of time before we did it, but we would probably still remove the stumps. But
So you're still gonna have some expense involved.
Yes, we are.
But I think if you, I'm not gonna entertain having a blank check issue, so.
No, it has,
Let's
it has
say
to be-
we're currently at $15,000, that gives you 10 days worth of tree work. If you wanna go to 30 days worth of tree work, that's $45,000. That's, and Brother Markinson can speak to his feeling on this, but that would be getting close to the upper limit of what I'm prepared to consider.
so I know we have a lot of dead trees. And just like a lot of things, deferred maintenance, whatever you wanna call it, things that we should have been doing along the way and we didn't.
well, we have, but we've fallen behind every year, is what's
Right.
happening.
Right, so in my mind, you've got the inventory that's there now, plus you wanna understand what the typical rate is, all right? So we got 200 out there now. So if we didn't have any backlog at all, how many would we end up with a year? 20, 30?
Yeah, I would say. Ballpark. Yep.
So ideally, you're gonna have, on an ongoing basis, you're gonna deal with them, with those 20 or 30 a year, okay? So now we've got this big backlog and we need to start taking it down. So we can say, all right, we're gonna throw $100,000 at it and we're gonna get it this year. Or you can say, we're gonna whittle it down. The problem with the $100,000 approach is a big blip in the budget, all right? That either means we're gonna starve something else out, or we're gonna hand a bigger bill to the taxpayers. So in my mind, a smarter way to do it is say, we gotta start working this down. We've been budgeting 15,000 and spending 15,000. So maybe we'll budget 30,000. I don't know what the right number is, but not try and kill it all in 1 year.
The other part of it, you got $4,200 left in your tree removal line that I'm looking at. Hire them for 2 days. We have no idea what their productivity is. So until we know, let's say we have 100 trees that need to come down. Until we know how many trees they can service in a day, we're just shooting in the dark. If they can do 5, 6, 10 trees in a day.
I think they're gonna be different every time.
But,
Depends on the
Yep.
tree, the location, how
Exactly.
difficult it is to take down.
I mean, we're hiring professionals to do something that they,
Do every day. Yeah.
So
so they should have one of each.
we put it out to bid so we know what they will charge us. then we know
Well,
what we need to do, correct?
yep, we can do that.
For tree removal, you have storm damage. You have, designated removal of hazardous trees. And you have over 200 of them marked in town, you told me. There's trees damaged by snow plowing. If the plow keeps hitting it,
It's time to remove it.
it's time to remove it. There's grooming of roadway canopy trees that trucks, like on Durgan Road, are hitting the trees. There's brushing out stone walls to ease snow plowing and seasonal mowing. There's, preparing for future road maintenance. For example, on North Line Road and Dane Road, there are still trees that have tape around them, even though we paved or gonna pave them in certain areas. Then there's also, areas in town with intersections. You shared with me that when you come to an intersection and stop at the stop line, you're supposed to be able to see 100 feet for every 10 miles per hour the speed limit is. And we probably have, 20 or 30 intersections that are,
Marginal at most.
could be worked on, like that. Until, my comment is, let's put it out to bid and see what we can get. There may be a company that's gonna give us a deal, like, and be reasonable like Mr. Carroll is.
Yep, I think we can find somebody that would certainly give us a deal, especially if I think that's the way you get a deal, is you present a bigger picture. You say, we're gonna give you X amount of work each year. And,
But I still wanna know what their performance level is. I'm not buying it until I know how much they can get done in a day. They're not gonna have a bunch of tree guys out here with their chipper and a bucket truck taking one tree down and charging us $1,500. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Correct.
So we need to figure out what a reasonable amount, point it out.
I think what we'll do then
I want a day's work out of it.
is I'm gonna pick 10 trees, I guess.
Yeah,
We'll get a bid on those 10 trees, and then we'll know.
yeah, and just hire it and get it done.
Yep.
See how fast it gets done, how fast it gets done. And then get your piece out on the street, because now you know what 10 trees cost, or should cost to get done.
Roughly, yeah, because we have one.
So we're gonna have the bid process go out Thanksgiving? Is that what we're talking about?
Mr. Chairman, we've been at this for 2 hours and 40 minutes this morning. We got some stuff we have to get done today. I hope we'll be out of here by noon.
Okay.
So we're gonna have lots of time in 2 weeks that we can revisit some of these things.
I'll get the price. I have people that are anxious to bid on this, so I'll pick the 10 trees and we'll get the price this week.
But do it simultaneously, I don't care.
Yep.
I'm gonna call tree companies, ask them both questions.
I'd like to hire local, we've got plenty of good talent around here.
Yeah, we must be travel.
And I'm the chairman, so I'll ask one following question. Driveways. There was a paved driveway, has that been corrected on New Road?
It was.
Good job. You were asked about driveways on Ledge Hill Road, that are dumping water in. What's the outcome there? There's one that was a temporary driveway and hasn't been used for years.
So I did look at that, and it isn't, trying to put water uphill, as you explained it. It looks like there is a culvert that crosses the road right near there that it dumps into.
Right, and it's washing out, isn't it?
Well, like anything, it's gonna require some maintenance and.
Going to require some repairs because it's dumping sediment into your responsibility, right?
That's everywhere, but I know you're saying, I think we're okay though with cleaning that up when they finish their project coming down that hill.
Yes.
Then we're gonna know at that time if it, as long as it's done correctly, we'll be in good shape. They're trenching down that whole long hill.
And what about where the logging operation is no longer in operation? That was a temporary driveway. And I'll ask you again, sir, how long does a temporary driveway go for in Tufton Borough?
Well, I don't think that we've ever had a discussion on how long we're allowed to have it for.
What's your recommendation?
Well, if they're done logging, I'd like to see it, remedy.
Once they're done with their project, they ought to restore it, right?
Yeah. I can have a talk with them about it and just confirm it.
Yeah, now that we've seen there's a problem that happened, maybe we need to put a policy together, 30 days after your logging operation.
Yeah, and again, we talked about this before, that there needs to be a policy that they need a permit for any kind of driveway work before paving. If we have that, I think we can prevent a lot of this.
On that subject there, people listened to us on YouTube and pointed out that if you have a paved driveway, it comes under zoning, and it also, you pay taxes on it, right?
Right.
So the town does have an interest in that driveway.
They do, but they don't have, I don't think there's a permit that needs to be signed and explain it to them ahead of time and then checked on after the work's been done to make sure that it does meet the standard.
But we took a vote the last couple of meetings, right?
Well, I think you guys were gonna work on that. I don't know if it ever, you were gonna talk to
Jack.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, I've been asked to nudge this along, so do you have anything else?
No, I'm good shape.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Don't let us down.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll get together with you on some of those things.
Yep, come on. Great. Yep.
Signature file. This is August 7th. Headwaters Consulting, reference proposal for permitting repairs to Union Wharf. You folks read it?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll make a movement that we sign it.
And I'll second.
Do I sign as whereas client?
Yes.
You are client.
Okay. The motion's been made and seconded. I have a question. This is for a fee of $13,985. And I believe we have money in the budget for it.
Right.
Right.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Today is the 24th.
Yes, it
It
is.
is. Tomorrow's my anniversary.
Happy anniversary. Thank you, Jim. Next item is the lien for a property in North Country Village. Did you folks read it?
Yes. So, and so the request is that the lien be, released without payment because they feel that it's a detriment to selling the property. I don't understand why it would be.
Yeah, it's just like having a lien from the bank.
Right. So if it means that the selling price of the property is, or the proceeds is gonna be a little less because of the lien, then so be it. That was a cost that the
bigger
town.
problem than the sale is another issue.
Yeah.
So I'm not in favor of.
So no action to be taken.
Right, I'm not in favor
I
of.
agree with you, gentlemen. Next is the signature page for the Tuftonboro CDBG agreement. Have you read it?
Yep.
And
So that requires one signature, I
One
believe, right?
signature.
So I'll move that we have the chairman sign it.
I'll second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This is just making us officially involved. I don't see where there's any money out of our budget.
Right.
This is CDBG municipal item, code of ethics. Any changes? If not, is it okay to sign?
So, I'll move, may I have the chairman sign it?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Next is notice of appointment to Priscilla C. Keaton for town clerk and tax collector.
Assistant.
Deputy town clerk and deputy tax collector.
Right.
Uh,
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Next is a letter to Heather Cubido from the board extending its gratitude for services to the town of Tuftonboro. We wish you the very best.
Yep. So I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. This is to Skip Hurt. The board wishes to extend thank you for your $13,000 donation to be used toward road improvements for Willens Road.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This next letter is to Stephen Allen. The Board of Selectmen wishes to extend its gratitude for a $7,000 donation to be used toward road improvements on the Welland Road.
Move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next is notice to intent wood or timber on lot 40-3-34-000. This is at Chase Point.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Moving along, this is Town Hall Cemetery, right of burial to Stephen Thompson, trustee.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. The last is to Tuftonboro Selectmen from Josh Sandel. This is in reference to the contract for fuel. And there was a change from last year. It's to reflect 13,000 gallons. It's not open-ended. Have you folks read the
I did.
paperwork?
Yep.
Did you read the note that Karen added?
Yep.
And what is this? I
So last year's contract didn't have a limit on the amount of that number of gallons. This year, they limited it at this price at 13,000 gallons, which is more than we used by some, I don't remember, I think she's saying there what we used last year, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, and you have to use 90% of the contract. $0.50 a gallon for fuel not delivered. So should we get closer to the number of gallons that we actually use? I don't know how many we used.
I thought she had it on there from last year.
Oh. Yeah, volume 2021 is on here. So I wonder if we could have somebody call and figure out how many gallons, or look up how many gallons we actually used this year,
Yep.
or in the last 12 months. I mean, I just hate to, you know, if we buy 13,000 gallons and then only
Yeah,
use
no,
10,000.
she said the most we ever used was just under 10,000 gallons, so, and this is for 13, which is,
Yeah,
uh,
so you're talking about a $1,500 penalty if you
Yep.
don't use it. And I love Josh Sandel, you know, they were on a board together one time, but he's not in total control of whether or not they decide to charge us.
I'm not in favor of penalties.
Yeah. Well, they need certainty on how many
Right.
gallons, you know, to give you a price, but if we're,
I have no problem compromising, say 11,000.
yeah, if we're working on 10 or 11,000 gallons, you know, I mean, I don't know what, if there's a magic 13.
Do you have a working relationship with them that you could call and speak?
Yeah, I can call Josh.
And I apologize for jumping on things on you.
yeah,
A man of your,
I don't mind doing it, and I, you know, does it require 3 signatures to make this come together?
no, just requires one signature.
All right, so
To make
what,
do you want to be responsible and have my proxy?
I'll just call, find out what we've got, and if it can be worked out, then I'll have, Kathy email you guys, and you can give me authority to sign.
Yeah. That sounds good.
Okay.
And if it can't be worked out, then we'll talk about it the next time.
Yep.
Okay, so that's a work in progress. Let's move on to correspondence, green folder.
All right. So we had the estimated revenues to review today. Did she give you a copy of this?
MS1,
Yeah. So,
Go ahead.
well, I thought she was giving everybody a copy of this. Anyway, this needs to go on the MS1, and it's supposed to be filed on, September 1st. So, something we have to deal with before then.
yeah, I didn't get it wrong.
So, I didn't, I took a look at it, that's our estimated revenues from before. I took a quick look at it and it looked reasonable.
The only change is what the auditor said, we
Yep.
moving
Yeah, we have-
9,200.
Right, we have to pull that 9,200 out.
I have no problem with it being signed. What are your thoughts?
So I agree.
Well, you got 2 votes, you got it done.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
haven't looked at it, so.
All right.
I don't know whether to.
Do you want to take a look at it?
I wouldn't mind.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So that's what we, what she gave us, and this is, I'm sorry?
Is that to extend it? Is that what you're asking?
This is the revenue, projection for
MS
2020.
737, estimated revenue,
Right, and that goes on her MS1, which
right,
gets filed next week. So,
yeah, I guess. We haven't, yeah, it's going into the MS, we haven't set the tax rate or done any.
no, that comes in October, so,
Okay. I'm fine with it.
all right.
We authorize the signature, it to be prepared for our signature.
Yeah, it's not in there already, the MS1, or when are we gonna sign that? Friday?
Maybe, I'm not, but you guys can, yeah.
Okay.
So that's,
I'm just thinking if we sign in checks, we can just,
yep,
we can vote
Sure.
on
yep.
signing the MS1.
So I'll move that we approve the update on the estimated revenue as presented, which includes taking this $9,200 out.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And we'll sign it when it's prepared.
Yep.
Just put that right in the red folder.
All right.
Okay, correspondence. This is an August 13th letter to Jack Parsons. He's given us a copy. It's a reference to people at 15 Durgan Road who have concerns about a building permit at 15 Durgan Road. Have you read the letter?
Yep.
Jack gave me a copy of it today and said that if someone gets a permit to build a garage, he can do that. As far as opening a business or whatever, that's another issue.
Right.
Next is from Melissa Latham. It's just a CDBG question and answer session. Heather says that she's gone through some emails. Have you folks gone through them?
She just went through Karen's email.
Yeah.
Right.
It's all stuff that we reviewed. Okay. There's a letter here from Patricia Bonafont to the police chief about speeding on Durgan Road. Have you folks read it?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. And it's been referred to the chief. This is a letter to the selectmen from Paul Zimmerman about police station, and he addressed it today. He also asked about fire department testing ladders and hoses. Did you folks read it?
Yeah.
Okay. Next is correspondence from Marilyn Stacy, just a copy of what she wrote. Notice of meeting public hearing today for the town of Thornton.
I think I can see something from my house.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Just barely.
You see the windmills? This is official notice for New Hampshire Electric Co-op. Tuesday, October 20th.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. This is from Paige Wilson, consultants for closing the landfill, RFP. And it's from Lakes Region Planning, and it's companies that authorized to deal with. Can I say, give a copy to Clay?
Yeah.
Sure.
And that's good to note, to be included when we open the bids for the landfill monitoring. This is Rick Hillen, survey update attached. It's broadband.
And a very small percentage of Tufton Borough households have participated.
Yeah, it looks like 4% or something like that.
Well, so,
Yep, 4.79%.
yeah. So it's an easy thing to do. It doesn't take long, and it's helpful information to them.
109 responses out of 2,277 residences. Next is a copy of McWhorter, reference Camp Belknap. Next is from Dave Jeffers, reference hazardous waste coordinators meeting. One copy to Clay. Zoning for cell towers. This is the lease. Do we need to have another contact with our lawyer, or what do you?
I think he's done what we needed to do to start the negotiation.
That's right.
I'd say shoot him off an email and say, send it in and let's get the program started.
In my contacts with other communities, they said, nowhere in here is there anything about securing the work area, what do you need for a staging area, et cetera.
All of that, though, we can bring up. We need to get
the lease done.
this out there. And if we want to put conditions on something, then and they're mandated to do some of that by.
Yes. The next is from David Dietz, D-I-E-T-Z. I want to volunteer to help with cable TV contract renewal, and I got a notice you're working on currently. Who should I talk to about that? Or should you have him or her contact me? Thank you, Dave. We asked for people with input on cable TV, and he's responded. Do we put him in touch with Joe, or ask
Yeah,
Joe?
let's make Joe the chairman of that committee.
Okay. If he's willing to.
Not here, we can volunteer him.
Yeah, that's right.
This is Mount Washington Valley Supports Recovery Coalition Endeavor House. Anyone from the board want to attend their meeting? We support them every year with $2,000 in our welfare budget.
No,
Health
health agency's budget, yeah,
So
not
this-
welfare.
This goes into the budget review process. Next is Dave Ford and Steve reference meeting with the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board and Conservation Commission, reference the RIB project. This is from Andy Shigori to Matthew Broadhead on some of the things he talked about with us. Okay. This is a letter from Susan Schur, S-C-H-U-U-R, who was following up on mixed paper, recycling mixed paper. Can we just send a copy to Clay?
Yeah, I think we need to inform Clay that the next time he comes in, we really gotta talk paper and how much it costs to get rid of it.
Yep.
Because I keep getting a lot of phone calls.
Sure.
People wanna recycle paper.
Yep.
Regardless of the cost.
Yep. This is Regional Select Board Group Meeting. It's a work in progress. This is an RFP for doing the perambulation lines. And proposals are due August 31st, so it's a work in progress. Next is from Capital Improvement Committee. It talks about capital improvement projects. I'll ask at this time, does the Board of Selectmen have any capital improvement projects from the Board of Selectmen to submit?
Well, I think we need to make our annual submissions. So that'd be a good thing for us to look at when we're spending the day at the school. Get those off so that CIP has them timely to begin their process next week.
Okay. Don't know if this is signed. Oh, from CMS mailer, talking about selectmen's meeting and wearing masks. This is from Steve Wingate, reference Libby Park and the boundary line there. It's a work in progress. This is from Richard Stone, who was talking about Island Day. This is from Horizons Engineering, the Melvin Village Group.
I didn't see any action in that.
Nope,
So,
it's just information.
yeah.
This is from Samantha Fifield, the lady that I met with, who talked about three issues. The drain at, or the river at the Dearborn property, the intersection of 171 and Durgan Road and Ledge Hill, and the intersection with Willen Road. Can I have a copy of that at your convenience?
Copy of,
The last thing.
okay.
I'll circle LPW at the bottom. Any other correspondence to come before the board? Selectmen's update? I already asked about CIP.
Yep. The only thing I have is planning board last Thursday, continued our hearing on the site plan review for Camp Belknap for adding their new, marksmanship range and relocating a couple of, staff cabins. And, so we heard from attorneys for both sides, both of whom had extensive prepared remarks and statements. And the matter is continued until our meeting next week, at which time we will have review and comments back from the planning board council on all of this stuff for us and be ready to move. So mercifully, it was not an extended evening, but as I said at the meeting, anytime you get two lawyers that stand up and say this, that's, you know, we got to get counsel involved in the process. I'm not going to pretend to know what the cited court cases and precedents and this, that, and the other.
Yeah,
So
it seems an odd way to go about business, but I guess it's not changed.
yep.
Anything else? And,
I got busy building a field. I didn't do anything.
is there any other business? Anybody on the line, Kathy, that wants to speak?
I don't see anyone.
Okay. In here, are there anything that
I didn't see anything that needed action today.
Okay.
No, I didn't. The only action I saw that we needed to do is just forward the cell tower contract back to the attorney or whatever, or just notify him to start the process of negotiation.
That negotiation price, right?
Yep.
And do you have anything, Kathy?
I do not at this moment.
Okay. Thank you for your efforts. I hope we were loud enough for you.
I'm gonna move we adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.